Chapter 399 Realm of the Gods' Language. Chapter 399 Realm of the Gods' Language. Chapter 399 Realm of the Gods' Language. Mu Dingshan was finally defeated by the half-step Xiantian red person. After doing his best and cutting off the red person's arm, he was defeated by its sword. However, what shocked Mu Dingshan was that after he cut off the red person's arm, the section of the arm that was cut off burst into red lights. Some of the red lights scattered away, and some of them flowed into his body, numbing him. Not only did his injuries heal, but the true essence in his body became increasingly pure. This is. Mu Dingshan was astonished. The last time he had entered the ancient Phoenix main hall, he hadn't experienced such a scene. Is it possible that if I jump realms to a certain degree, I can obtain benefits? The ancient Phoenix main hall was a smelting trial that was created for the younger generations of the ancient Phoenix clan, so that they could enhance their strength through these tribulations. It wasn't strange that a situation like this would occur. As Mu Dingshan became aware of this, he felt a bit of regret. Unfortunately, cutting off that red person's arm was his limit. Although he had obtained a pure fire attribute origin energy, the amount was too little. It was not enough for him to break through to the middle Hutian realm. This benefit was something that he could only see, but not obtain. At this time, Mu Dingshan heard some icy sounds resound within the chamber, as if it was some sort of language. But Mu Dingshan didn't know what was being said. A moment later, a red light flashed and Mu Dingshan was sent out of the chamber to begin the smelting trial that corresponded with his talent. At this time, within Lin Ming's chamber, he was facing a peak Hutian martial artist. This red person was equal to a talent like Huan Xiaodai if she were a peak Hutian master. In truth, this wasn't weak, it was already better than a half-step Xiantian Qinzia. Lin Ming's purple comet spear glared with the blinding light of thunderfire. Each time he defeated an opponent, he would conserve as much true essence as possible. He would use the most ordinary move, and absolutely no martial skills. He would defeat them in one move, and not waste another. This was because he didn't know how many more opponents he had to face every time he defeated another red person. The red person's spear was a spear, but it also understood martial skills. It thrust out its spear, and the fire that wrapped around it manifested into the phantom of a phoenix. Lin Ming moved, golden rock shattering the void erupting as he instantly came up behind the red person, the purple comet spear shooting out. Avoiding a collision with the enemy and bypassing its attacks was the best way to save true essence. This peak Hutian red person was quite strong. It felt Lin Ming's spear behind it and turned around to block it. However, relative to Lin Ming, the red person was far too weak. Especially after Lin Ming had broken through to the peak pulse condensation period. Now his strength had even surpassed Lei Mubai by a level. Azure true essence erupted. Lin Ming thrust his long spear towards the red person, and the spear stabbed through its dantian. Lin Ming twisted the spear, and tore its dantian to pieces. The red person exploded into shining red lights again. But what surprised Lin Ming was that after some time, a part of these red lights began to flow into Lin Ming's body. This was an extremely pure fire origin energy. After it surged into Lin Ming, he felt his entire body pleasantly warm up, as if the true essence in him was speeding up. This is. Lin Ming felt the red light flowing within him, and discovered that it was circulating through his meridians before gathering into his dantian and settling there. Dantian. Lin Ming was shocked, and then overjoyed. The difference between the pulse condensation period and the Hutian realm was that a Hutian realm master could save and condense true essence in his dantian. But, a pulse condensation period martial artist could only contain true essence within their meridians. Naturally, the dantian could hold a much greater amount of true essence than the meridians. Only a very small amount of true essence flowed into Lin Ming's dantian. However, this small amount was still proof that he was taking great steps towards reaching the Hutian realm. There's too little true essence, there isn't much increase in my cultivation. But it still opened up the path leading from my meridians to my dantian. Later, when I step into the Hutian realm from the pulse condensation period, there won't be any barriers, and it will be completely successful. This ancient Phoenix main hall is truly wonderful. As Lin Ming was thinking, the red lights in front of him began to condense again. This time, another red person holding a spear appeared, but their cultivation was at a half-step Xiantian. Half-step Xiantian. Lin Ming was excited. What would happen if he defeated this half-step Xiantian martial artist? With the purple comet spear in his hand, Lin Ming made a preemptive move. When the figure was still materializing, Lin Ming thrust towards its chest. Clang! Sparks scattered in the air. Lin Ming's spear had been blocked by the red person, and a wild true essence tore through the air. As the red person blocked the spear, it gripped its own spear with one hand and swept towards Lin Ming's neck. Lin Ming instantly drew backwards, and the spear light erupted. 10,000 flames burning world. Hoo hoo hoo. Wind and fire began to pick up within the chamber, and pillars of flame shot out like a blazing meteor. In that instant, the red martial artist had been completely surrounded by flames. But this red martial artist was agile. In this situation, it still managed to retreat as it stabbed out with its spear again, stabbing into the pillars of flame. There were several dozen pillars of flame, but in the blink of an eye, they were all scattered by the red martial artist. However, as the last pillar of flame exploded into nothing, a purple arc of lightning leapt out. This was the divine demon steel needle. Lin Ming had hidden the divine demon steel needle within 10,000 flames burning world, taking the red person by surprise. Pu. With the speed of light, the divine demon steel needle pierced through the scarlet martial artist's neck, and a rain of dazzling light showered out. The red martial artist burst apart into a deluge of red sparkling lights. If Lin Ming didn't use a sneak attack like this, he still would have been able to defeat the red martial artist. But he would have needed to exert a great deal of effort. The red light once again gathered onto Lin Ming, flowing into his body. The pure fire true essence spread through all the meridians of Lin Ming's body before finally converging into his dantian where it settled down. After the half-step Xiantian martial artist had died, the fire origin energy it left behind was several times richer and purer than the red person that had come before it. This fire attribute origin energy is extremely pure and dense. When it is gathered in my dantian, it can act like a seed and lay the foundation for me to break into the Hutian realm in the future. As Lin Ming was secretly rejoicing in his fortune, he saw the red lights begin to condense again. This time, Lin Ming's heart went cold. Without a doubt, the new red person that would emerge would be a Xiantian realm martial artist. Lin Ming's expression was solemn. The difference between a half-step Xiantian and a true Xiantian master was enormous. Without hesitation, Lin Ming used the strength of tempering marrow. Instantly, the true essence that was contained within his marrow began to violently gush out, and Lin Ming's momentum shot up. As the red person was forming, Lin Ming's figure flew forwards like the wind, the purple comet spear piercing outwards. Spear light shined, and the red person's figure suddenly distorted, completely avoiding Lin Ming's spear. The spear stabbed into the wall, causing the array formation on the wall to severely shake. Su. The red person struck out with its long spear. With a sound like tigers and dragons roaring, a spear swept out at Lin Ming's waist. Peng. The red person's long spear collided with Lin Ming's purple comet spear, causing the shaft to bend. Lin Ming withdrew, and the red person closely followed him, striking out with the long spear in its hand like a serpent. With every spear thrust, spear light shined out, and the spear itself seemed to contain an intelligent will, making Lin Ming feel as if he were being overwhelmed by this barrage of attacks. What great spear skill! Lin Ming's pupils contracted. The red person was only a puppet that was formed from energy, but he never thought it would have such skills in spearmanship. Lin Ming's body began to emit popping sounds as he suddenly gave a loud shout. The phantom of an azure true dragon appeared behind him. Roar! The cry of a true dragon flushed into the sky. Lin Ming gripped his spear and swept out. With a nearly irresistible momentum, Lin Ming broke apart all of his enemy's spear lights. Heretical God Force. Lin Ming didn't plan on challenging the next opponent. Against a middle Xiantian realm martial artist, he had no confidence that he would win. It would be best to go all out and finish off the red person currently in front of him. As the heretical God Force opened, Lin Ming's momentum dramatically spiked up once again. He didn't have the exquisite and skillful spear skills that the red person had. What he could rely on to win was absolute subjugation by strength. With superior strength, he would break apart the red person's skills. Spear energy crashed in the same place, and suddenly a terrifying vortex of wind appeared in the completely airtight chamber. If a weaker martial artist was caught in this brutal vortex of wind, they would only meet a miserable death. Ka. The protective array formation on the walls began to fiercely shake. The spear lights were broken apart by Lin Ming one at a time. As he swept out his spear, his attack contained the power of thunder and fire. But at this time, the red person suddenly moved, and he disappeared like smoke. Without even looking, Lin Ming turned around and thrust out the purple comet spear. On the edge of the spearhead, the divine demon steel needle roared out. The red person lifted his spear to block. The divine demon steel needle struck above the red person's spear shaft along with the purple comet spear. Bang! A violent explosion followed. The red person was sent flying backwards by the power of thunder, and brutally slammed into the protective array formation. A faint crack had even appeared in the spear that was formed by energy. This blurry spear was naturally unable to compare with a top high-grade Earthstep treasure like the purple comet spear. Lin Ming didn't let this opportunity pass. He rushed forwards, thrusting out. The power of thunder and fire intertwined, thunder-fire annihilation. Lin Ming only used 30% of his energy in this thunder-fire annihilation. After all, this chamber was a completely enclosed space. If a full-energy thunder-fire annihilation had exploded within the chamber, then Lin Ming himself might not have been much better off. The red person didn't have any wisdom or thoughts. It only lifted its cracked spear to dodge this 30% thunder-fire annihilation of Lin Ming's. The result was unsurprising. Bang! The red person's spear was completely broken to pieces, and the confined space began to violently shake. In the following true essence shockwave from the attack, the red person's body was broken apart, turning into a dense group of red lights. As for Lin Ming, even he had been injured. His blood vitality was roiling, and his right hand was dripping wet with blood. Who? The red person dispersed into a mass of red lights that merged into Lin Ming's body. This light was much richer than anything that came before. Even the wound that Lin Ming had just received was beginning to regenerate at a visible speed. The condensed true essence within his dantian strengthened once again, paving the way for Lin Ming to reach the Hutian realm. As long as Lin Ming was able to fill his dantian with true essence, he would naturally break through to the Hutian realm. He wouldn't even need to stop at the half-step Hutian realm. Just what sort of origin does this ancient Phoenix clan have, that it can construct such a wonderful and unbelievable smelting trial? No wonder Divine Phoenix Island considered this Divine Phoenix mystic realm the basis of their sect, and why so many core disciples struggle for a spot to enter the ancient Phoenix main hall. As the wounds of his body healed, Lin Ming began to think about how to challenge a middle Xiantian master's moves. He wanted to take a good look and see just how great the disparity was between him and a middle Xiantian master. But to his surprise, a middle Xiantian realm red person didn't appear. Instead, the enclosed chamber suddenly quieted. As Lin Ming waited, nothing happened. He stood there puzzled, and as he was beginning to have some doubts, an icy voice rang out in the air. It was a language that Lin Ming had never heard of before, but seemed oddly familiar. After a few words, Lin Ming's heart began to shake. This was the language of the realm of the gods. Chapter 400 Final General Level Smelting Trial. Chapter 400 Final General Level Smelting Trial. Chapter 400 Final General Level Smelting Trial. Lin Ming didn't have a comprehensive understanding of the realm of the gods' language from the memory fragments in his mind. He carefully recalled them, and was then just able to barely understand the meaning of the words. Talent is satisfactory for the general level requirement. You may continue on to the Final General Level Smelting Trial. Final General Level Smelting Trial? Lin Ming was shocked. Who was speaking? This ancient Phoenix main hall had existed for tens of thousands of years or even hundreds of thousands of years. Besides some supreme elders of the realm of the gods who had already thoroughly understood the profound mysteries and principles of life-death, no one should be able to live this long. There shouldn't still be anyone living in the ancient Phoenix main hall, Was this a message left behind by the one who created all of this? This was indeed a possibility. Of course, there were also some magic array formations that could record sounds and preserve them for an extremely long time. Just what was the final general level smelting trial? A light shined down, enveloping Lin Ming. In the next moment, he suddenly felt like he was being warped somewhere else. After several dozen breaths of time, Lin Ming slowly adapted to the strange and uncomfortable feeling of being spatially warped somewhere. As he slowly opened his eyes, he saw that he seemed to have been warped away from the main hall. Behind him was a cave, and in front of him was an endlessly vast plain. There were no giant glacier and no rivers of lava, only black, sparse land with scattered rocks and some vegetation. As Lin Ming looked closer, he could see that there were several broken swords, spears, and other weapons buried in the dirt. There were even incomplete skeletons. But after such a long time, these skeletons were brittle to the point of turning to dust if handled too roughly. Lin Ming's mind stirred. He gingerly extracted several bones from the ground and compared them to a human's anatomy. He wasn't able to find any differences between them. The ancient Phoenix clan was from the human race of the Sky Spill continent. Lin Ming couldn't help but wonder this. At this moment, a mass of hazy flashing lights appeared in front of Lin Ming. A second later, it merged into a human's face, just like a ghost. Is this also an opponent formed from energy? Lin Ming subconsciously took out the purple comet spear, true essence circulating through his entire body as he prepared to fight at any moment. However, what startled Lin Ming was that the human face opened its mouth and actually began to unbelievably speak. Smelting trial. It sounded monotone and cold, without the slightest bit of emotion. The language that it spoke in was shockingly from the realm of the gods. Lin Ming stared in complete confusion. Was this ghostly thing some sort of remnant spiritual body left behind? But what sort of spiritual body could live so long? Had it been protecting the ancient Phoenix main hall for the last tens of thousands of years, or even hundreds of thousands of years? It could live this long. Who are you? Lin Ming asked. After he recalled the fragmented memories of the Supreme Elders from the realm of the gods, he managed to stitch the words together to compose this sentence. This was the first time he had used the cumbersome language of the realm of the gods, and his pronunciation was awkward. But the ghost in front of him seemed to understand this. I am the Palace Spirit, the guardian of this land. Palace Spirit? You're already dead? Lin Ming asked with a stunned expression. Within the Sky Spill continent, things such as ghosts, vampires, and zombies weren't anything new. In fact, there were even some martial artists that were able to separate their soul from their body, to the point where after they died their soul would become a completely separate ghostly martial artist that relied on swallowing the souls of others to cultivate. Dead? No, I've had this appearance since birth. I am part of the spirit race. Or to be more accurate, I am of the stone spirit race. Stone spirit? Lin Ming's eyebrows arched up. This was the first time that he had heard of the existence of such a race. Rocks have souls, mountains have souls, the world has a soul. Once a rock has passed through countless years, it can nurture a spirit. This is my stone spirit race. My race's life is as long as a rock itself. When we sleep, we slumber among the rocks and can rest for 100,000 years at a time. This is nothing unusual. Heavens! Lin Ming was speechless. Life as long as a rock's? How long could a rock last? If a rock was placed in a spot, if it didn't crack or melt, it could weather almost eternity. A single period of sleep could last 100,000 years. From the very beginning that this ancient Phoenix main hall existed, this fellow could have been sleeping until now. Lin Ming guessed that this fellow was the same sort as Yang Mo from the Sorcerer Holy Land. It was sent by its master to manage and watch over the smelting trial. Thus, he asked, I would like to ask, what is the meaning of the final general level smelting trial? The ancient Phoenix main hall is the training grounds of the ancient Phoenix clan's army. Altogether, there are a total of 3 levels. The king level, general level, and sergeant level. Your companions that followed you in and participated are currently in the sergeant level smelting trial. As for you, you are chosen for the general level smelting trial. Lin Ming's mind was startled. He never imagined that this ancient Phoenix main hall was a training ground for the ancient Phoenix race's army. For this place to exist on such a massive scale, just what kind of army was being trained? What sort of war did they participate in? The words sergeant-level smelting trial meant that it trained soldiers. Thus, Mu Dingshan, Mu Xiaoqing, and the rest could only be considered ordinary soldiers. As for himself, he could be considered a general, or at least a military officer of some kind. And the so-called king? What rank was that? Lin Ming couldn't help but ask, what kind of talent does a king-level participant need? A king level doesn't just need talent, but more importantly needs the bloodline of the ancient Phoenix clan. Although you have a small trace of a god-beast bloodline within you, it is not the same bloodline that my ancient Phoenix clan possesses. The palace spirit said without a trace of emotion. Lin Ming was shocked. The reverse scale blood within him had actually been noticed by this palace spirit. But it wasn't strange. The level of understanding concerning god-beasts that this ancient Phoenix clan achieved naturally couldn't be compared with Divine Phoenix Island. What are the details of the final general-level smelting trial? Will I die if I lose? The content of the smelting trial is to fight an army. If you are defeated, you may retreat to this cave and try again. But, if you die within the smelting trial, you will truly die. Whether it is the sergeant or general-level training trial, both need to undergo a baptism of blood in order to grow. Otherwise, it will be impossible to face the cruelty and brutality of the battlefield. After a period of time, I will return to assess your situation. What is the time period? Is it 7 days? What happens if I cannot complete the tasks of the smelting trial within 7 days? Lin Ming couldn't help but ask. He had heard from Mu Dingshan that the normal time period within the ancient Phoenix main hall was 7 days. But after listening to this palace spirit, it seemed it would be difficult to complete the general-level smelting trial within that 7-day time period. 7 days is only the period of time laid down within the sergeant-level smelting trial. Within the general-level smelting trial, it will only end upon completion, or upon your death. Until completion? How much time would that be? The time required is different for every person. If it is a short time, then around 2 years. If it is a long time, then even 10 years is possible. What? 10 years? Lin Ming was beyond startled. He himself had only lived for 16 years, and had only cultivated for around 4 years. Yet this palace spirit had so casually tossed out a 10-year time period. If he really cultivated for 5 or 10 years here, just what sort of concept was that? Lin Ming was left completely speechless. To practice here in this sealed-off area for such a long time was absolutely no faster than cultivating outside and experiencing all sorts of other trials, let alone having to do so for such a long time. Maybe even Divine Phoenix Island would think that he had died here. Also, there were his parents that he had to consider. How would they feel if they thought he had died? I refuse. Lin Ming said without hesitation. I apologize, but I am only a messenger and do not have the ability to change how the smelting trial is managed. The array formation has already started. Now, you have choice but to complete the smelting trial. It will not come to an end before you finish. But do not be so hasty in refusing. If you can complete the smelting trial, you will also receive rewards that you cannot imagine. The quicker you complete the smelting trial, the greater the rewards will be. What rewards? Lin Ming couldn't imagine any reward that would stir his heart and make up for several years of his life. But as he spoke, he suddenly remembered something and he began to run short of breath. He remembered the story that Mu Fengxian had told him. Divine Phoenix Island used to be a small ordinary sect. But 3,000 years ago, because of the rise of Silent Demon Emperor City, they had no choice but to depart for safer lands and relocate themselves within Divine Phoenix Island. At that time, the founder of Divine Phoenix Island had happened upon an accidental lucky chance, and had entered the ancient Phoenix main hall. There, she had simultaneously obtained both the bloodline of the Vermilion Bird Saint Beast and the Blue Luan Saint Beast. This was the sole reason that Divine Phoenix Island managed to attain 3,000 years of glory. The bloodline of the Vermilion Bird and Blue Luan Saint Beasts could be inherited by future generations. There were many descendants of the founder that had managed to inherit these bloodlines, and there were even descendants that cropped up every couple generations whose bloodline was not diluted. For instance, Mu Qianyu and Mu Bingyun both had the bloodline of a saint beast within them, and this was because they had inherited it from the founder of Divine Phoenix Island. Although Lin Ming had the vermilion bird blood essence within him, this was still acquiring the bloodline through forcibly transplanting it. And the transplantation technique was devised by Divine Phoenix Island. It wasn't necessarily some great technique. With just a bit of vermilion bird blood essence, the bloodline within Lin Ming was very weak. But, if he could obtain the transplantation of these two bloodlines from the ancient Phoenix main hall, and increase his bloodline purity to the level of the Divine Phoenix Island founder, it would be a tremendous help in his cultivation of the vermilion bird forbidden divine chronicle. Blood of the vermilion bird. Blood of the blue luan. Are these rewards possible? Lin Ming urgently asked. Not just the blood of the vermilion bird or the blue luan, but even the blood of the ancient phoenix is a possible. But, it is unable to be obtained by someone with your talent. The palace spirit blankly said, as if this was a statement of fact. Blood of the ancient phoenix. Lin Ming's mind began to race and his heartbeat quickened. What is the ancient phoenix? A phoenix god beast. This question may seem silly, but it was very important. There was simply too much at stake. Naturally, Lin Ming had to have complete assurance in this. Of course. What are the required conditions? Lin Ming impatiently asked. He had thought that there would only be the vermilion bird and blue luan bloodline. He never imagined that he could obtain the blood of a phoenix god beast. Even if it was only a tiny amount of the ancient phoenix, like an amount such as the reverse scale blood, it would still enough to give him a massive advantage. If he had the bloodline of the ancient phoenix, what would cultivating the vermilion bird forbidden divine chronicle be like? Lin Ming simply couldn't imagine it. The blood of the ancient phoenix is usually a reward in the king-level smelting trial. Normally, a general-level talent would never be able to obtain it. There is one exception, and that is if you can complete the entire smelting trial within 1 year. 1 year. Lin Ming took a deep breath. If he fully thought about everything the palace spirit had said so far, completing this smelting trial training in 1 year was a nearly inconceivable matter. But he still couldn't help but ask, from when you started guarding the ancient Phoenix main hall, how long has it been? Has there ever been a person who was able to complete the general level smelting trial within a year? My deep sleep has lasted too long, I no longer remember the passage of time. But over the many years, there truly was a person who was able to complete the general level smelting trial in 1 year. However, he was from the lineage of the royal family. It was just that he was relegated to the general level. The palace spirit's voice was a bit slow. It was as if too much time had passed, and it could no longer clearly remember the events of the past. Since someone can do this, it means that I can too. Lin Ming was confident in himself. This was an opportunity that he had to grasp with everything he had. Moreover, even if it wasn't because of the blood of the ancient phoenix, Lin Ming still had to pass this trial as quickly as possible to leave the ancient Phoenix main hall. According to normal circumstances, he should only be in here for 7 days. If he was gone for too long, then Mu Qianyu would probably assume that he had died. Chapter 401, 7 days. Chapter 401, 7 days. Do you insist? The palace spirit said as it apathetically looked at Lin Ming. Everything depends on effort. Trying to complete the smelting trial hastily will only make it easier for you to die in the middle of the trials. However, since you insist, I will not stop you. The palace spirit icily said. As a being from the spirit race, it naturally lacked emotions. I will be going to sleep. If you can survive and complete the 5th smelting trial, then you shall obtain a midway reward. At that time, I will awaken. After speaking these words, the palace spirit instantly vanished. The 5th smelting trial? Lin Ming's mind stirred. It seemed that the general level smelting trail was itself divided into different levels. With his current strength, just how far would he be able to reach in a single go? As Lin Ming was thinking, the entire land beneath him began to tremble. Rocks rolled down the hills and a moment later, in the distant plains, red symbols began to light up. These red symbols were several dozen feet high and were crowded together, creating a long length of light. There were hundreds and thousands of them, extending all the way to the end of the horizon. This is an array formation? Lin Ming was shocked. This was truly a terrifying array formation. The area it covered was at least 100 miles. This was a massive display of power. As the array formation appeared, the origin energy of the world began to fiercely shake. The ground began to increasingly vibrate, rocks broke in half, land cracked, and giant fissures began to spring up, creating mounds of rocks as if the earth itself was bubbling. Lin Ming gripped his spear. He felt the killing intent that the array formation was releasing. This was a true killing array. Once he was killed, he would die. Peng, peng, peng. The mounds of rocks exploded, and puppets made of black rock emerged from the ground. There were several hundred of them, and there were even many of these rock puppets that burned with fire. Without a doubt, these flaming rock puppets were much stronger than the rest. These are the enemies of the smelting trial. The enemies of the first trial should always be the weakest. The enemies behind will become increasingly strong. Lin Ming revolved true essence in his body, his heart brimming with warrior spirit. All of these puppets were no weaker than a Hutian realm martial artist, and there were several hundred that came up at once. Although this was difficult, it wasn't enough to trap Lin Ming for more than a year. That could only mean that the strength of the enemies behind them would rapidly increase. Lin Ming left the resting cave and stepped onto the plains, walking into the massive array formation. Roar! Roar! The rock puppets issued earth-shaking bellows, and the several hundred rock puppets rushed towards Lin Ming to kill him. These rock puppets were all more than 10 feet tall and weighed several thousands of jins. When they ran together, the earth would shake, and their loud cries resounded through the skies. Lin Ming grasped his long spear. He was one man alone facing such a mighty force. Such a scene caused the blood in his heart to burn and his soul to seethe with boiling excitement. I never thought that I would have to face so many enemies that are comparably to Hutian realm martial artists. When I fought in the beast tide at Green Mulberry City, most of the beasts that I killed were weak vicious beast. This is also only the first step of the general level smelting trial. Above this is also the king level smelting trial. No matter what, I cannot fall here. Lin Ming grit his teeth, and his eyes flashed with a cold and brutal killing intent. He could already see the bloodthirsty and crazed crimson eyes of the rock puppets, and the ferocious spikes that covered their body. Die! Lin Ming rushed into the first rock puppet. With a loud shout, azure true essence erupted. His figure was like a leopard that leapt into the air, and the purple comet spear was as nimble as a whip. He directly smashed down on the rock puppet's forehead. Catcher! Rock exploded, and fire attribute energy that formed its eyes shot out. First, Lin Ming borrowed the recoil of smashing the rock puppet's head and flew off to another side. The purple comet spear in his hand lashed out like a serpent and stabbed a second rock puppet in the eyes. Bang! As its eyes exploded, Lin Ming was pushed flying backwards by the impact, the purple comet spear bending like a crescent moon as he offset most of the impact. Otherwise, with Lin Ming's flesh and blood body, his wrist would still shake with numbness. After killing 2 rock puppets, Lin Ming fell into a group of rock puppets. In this situation, Lin Ming remained incomparably calm, sending out his sense to capture the movement of every rock puppet. He was like a gust of wind as he swiftly dashed through the openings between the rock puppets. With every thrust of Lin Ming's spear, almost every rock puppet that he attacked would die. The eyes were the weakness of the rock puppets. Every time Lin Ming thrust out, his spear would contain vibrating true essence. His attack would smash apart the fire origin energy within the eyes. Millimeter? Not good. At the moment that Lin Ming jumped, 2 columns of fire suddenly shot out from the puppet group, swiping by Lin Ming as they directly shot past him and into the sky. Although Lin Ming had dodged this sneak attack, the space he had dodged into was also locked down by a pillar of fire. Roar! Roar! A 3-headed rock puppet instantly came into a pincer position, surrounding Lin Ming. A big fist came crashing down, blocking every direction he could dodge in. At this critical moment, Lin Ming's pupils contracted. The divine demon Thunder Soul howled as it flew out. Puff! 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 With a series of light sounds, all 3 eyes on all 3 heads of the rock puppet exploded. Lin Ming took advantage of this opportunity to heavily punch the rock puppet's chest. The power of vibration erupted, directly shattering its body. As the rock puppet fell over, Lin Ming rushed forth and out of the circle. His feet trod with golden rock shattering the void, and he flew into the sky. So close. The blood in his body tumbled. If he had been struck by several fists at once, he would have been severely injured. That would have been very dangerous. However, there was no time for Lin Ming to relax. With several shoo 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 sounds, dozens of columns of flames were shot out by the rock puppet group, aiming at Lin Ming. This is bad. If I fly, then I'll just become a target. Lin Ming dived down, escaping the columns of flame that came at him. Once again, he was caught in a brutal melee. With just him against several hundred Hutian realm rock puppets, if he wasn't careful he would be caught in an endless siege from all sides. Even with Lin Ming's strength, if there was an accident, he would be severely wounded. But, if he was wounded to that extent, that would spell death in the midst of so many rock puppet. The probability of dying within this general level smelting trial was absolutely higher than the sergeant level. In order to create a general, one had to undergo numerous life and death challenges. This was also a matter of last resort. In an army, it was difficult to find true leaders. The position of a general was much more important than that of a soldier. Quickly, 7 days passed. In a dark chamber in the ancient Phoenix main hall, a light flashed and a ragged and blood-stained youth appeared, sprawled on the floor. That was a close call. The youth let out a long sigh of relief. This youth was Mu Dingshan. He took out pills from his spatial ring to swallow and also smeared medicine on his wounds. Mu Dingshan couldn't resist the temptation to accept the smelting trial that was at the limit of his strength. It had been incomparably difficult to complete, and he had fallen into many dangerous situations. Finally, his potential had erupted and he was able to pass through danger after danger to complete the smelting trail. Not only that, but his cultivation had broken through to the middle Hutian realm. I've finally broken through. Mu Dingshan sighed. With just this, everything was worth it. I hope that the other junior apprentice brothers and junior apprentice sisters weren't as reckless as I was. But, with such an opportunity laid in front of them, there are few people that would be able to resist the temptation. If they were to repeatedly avoid danger for the comforts of safety, they might never achieve anything great in their lives. I can only hope that they return safely. As Mu Dingshan was thinking, he saw a blue light flash, and Mu Xiaoqing appear. She was also blooded, but her overall appearance was much better than Mu Dingshan's. Mu Dingshan felt relief as some weight came off his shoulders. In this smelting trial, her importance was only inferior to Lin Ming's. It was wonderful that she could safely return. Then, more lights began to shine, and disciples came popping out one after another. Some were completely fined, and some were wounded. There was even one who was grievously injured, and his entire body covered with blood. Mu Dingshan hurried over and helped him swallow some pills. Junior apprentice brother Song, did you break through to the Hutian realm? Mu Dingshan said with astonishment. This junior apprentice brother Song was only 18 years old, and his strength placed him at the bottom end of the direct disciples. Before he entered the ancient Phoenix main hall, his cultivation had been at a half-step Hutian. But now, he had managed to break through to the Hutian realm. An 18-year-old with a Hutian realm cultivation was an extremely good result. A lucky breakthrough. Although the youth surnamed Song was covered in blood, he couldn't conceal the happy smile on his face. Entering this time was truly worth it. Now that he had reached the Hutian realm at 18 years of age, entering the revolving core realm in the future was nearly guaranteed. The other disciples had various degrees of benefits. Some had broken through to the next stage, and most of them hadn't been able to break through, but their strength had increased by a great deal. The disciples excitedly chatted with each other. Senior apprentice brother Mu, you are the fiercest one here. Now that you've reached the middle Hutian realm, none of those other 5-element region chief disciples will be your match. As several disciples congratulated Mu Dingshan, he smiled, but felt somewhat uneasy in his heart. Why hadn't Lin Ming come out? According to his past experiences, in another quarter of an hour they should all be sent out. But where was Lin Ming? Millimeter? Junior apprentice Brother Lin? Junior apprentice Brother Lin hasn't come out yet? The youth surnamed Song said with surprise as he suddenly discovered this fact. Now the disciples found out that there were 15 of them altogether. They were only missing Lin Ming. The disciples in the chamber stared in a daze. There's still time. Mu Dingshan frowned. He would not believe that Lin Ming couldn't pass the smelting trial. At this time, at the Divine Phoenix Island's back mountains, the Saintess Palace. Mu Qianyu was holding onto an ancient book. While she was reading it, she was also recording her thoughts in a jade slip. You are, from what I calculate, the disciples that have entered the Divine Phoenix mystic realm should leave today or tomorrow. Mu Qianyu glanced up. The one who had spoken was her master, Mu Yu Huang. Of the disciples that had gone into the Divine Phoenix mystic realm, we've already lost one. I hope that this time there won't be any losses of those that entered the ancient Phoenix main hall. Mu Yu Huang shook her head, her voice filled with lament. Millimeter, Mu Qianyu placed the jade slip down, looking lost in thought. Are you worrying about Lin Ming? Mu Yu Huang asked with a smile. A bit, Mu Qianyu nodded. That fellow Lin Ming was too adventurous, he liked taking risks too much. This was what she was worried about. Mu Yu Huang laughed, smiling as she said, be relieved. Lin Ming's talent is heaven-defying. Not only that, but the High Ancestor has said that a great destiny has fallen upon Lin Ming. He will not fall in the ancient Phoenix main hall. Chapter 402 News of Death. Chapter 402 News of Death. Chapter 402 News of Death. As Mu Qianyu and Mu Yu Huang spoke, a red-robed maid hurried over. Within the quiet and elegant corridors of the Saintess Palace, her echoing footsteps rang exceptionally loud. There was a knock on the door, the sound was still as urgent as before. Mu Yu Huang slightly frowned, enter. The red-robed maid opened the great doors. Her face looked flustered, and she didn't bow before saying, Your Highness Qianyu, Island Master, there has been an accident. Sir Lin Ming has not yet returned from the Divine Phoenix mystic realm. What? Mu Yu Huang's eyes widened and she immediately stood from her chair. As Mu Qianyu heard these words, she couldn't believe her own ears. Her eyes widened as she simply stared at the red-robed maid, her hands tightly gripped against the armrests of her chair. Because of the strength of her grip, her fingers had gone pale. Sir Mu Dingshan and Lady Mu Xiaoqing have returned. 16 people left, and 15 people returned. Only Sir Lin Ming is missing. 16 people left, 15 people returned, only Lin Ming was missing. As these words reverberated in her ears, Mu Qianyu felt as if all the strength in her body had been sucked out, and all her feelings were gone. Her heart felt empty, but she didn't know what this meant. It was like the world had slowed to a crawl. She was confused, anxious, sad, in complete disbelief. Mu Yu Huang's body stiffened for a long time. Finally, she took a deep breath and waved her hand, ordering the red-robed maid, return. After the maid withdrew, she sighed, Is the destiny of my Divine Phoenix Island not enough? Or do the heavens themselves wish to punish my Divine Phoenix Island? The South Sea Demon region had already sounded the clarion call of war. And in this dark time, a talent that was brimming with promise and hope had appeared. Yet, he had only been at Divine Phoenix Island for less than a month, and he had fallen within the Divine Phoenix mystic realm. Such an amazing genius had fallen within the Divine Phoenix mystic realm, where death itself had such a low chance of occurring. If this wasn't the will of the heavens, then what could it possibly be? You are. Mu Yu Huang turned to look at Mu Qianyu, but saw that she was tightly holding onto a chair with her hand, her face pale and showing a confused expression. Yua, let us go. We have to inform the Council of Elders of such a great matter. Inform, Mu Qianyu propped herself up, inform them of what? Inform them of Lin Ming's death. Even if I do not inform them, they will know. I gave all of the extra vermilion bird blood essence to Lin Ming. I had already borne a great deal of pressure to do this, but now, the elders will not let go of this opportunity to take advantage in this dire time. Mu Yu Huang ruefully smiled and shook her head. Vermilion bird blood essence was extremely precious to Divine Phoenix Island. If one wished to cultivate the core sections of the Vermilion Bird Forbidden Divine Chronicle, they had to have a rich and pure vermilion bird bloodline. There were many talented Divine Phoenix Island disciples whose bloodline purity was off by just a bit, and thus were unable to cultivate the core sections of the vermilion bird forbidden divine chronicle. These disciples might have needed only 2 or 3 drops of vermilion bird blood essence in order to reach the necessary bloodline purity. However, there was simply too little vermilion bird blood essence. Unless one had sufficient talent or backing, they would not receive any. Even core disciples were not able to enjoy this treatment. But in this case, Mu Yu Huang had actually given all of the vermilion bird blood essence to Lin Ming. It had to be known that Lin Ming didn't have even a tiny bit of the vermilion bird bloodline with him. In order to help him rise to the peak from having none at all, that required a massive amount of vermilion bird blood essence to be consumed. This sort of matter was normally impossible. Not only that, but Mu Yu Huang had given Lin Ming a far greater amount of vermilion bird blood essence than she needed. She had bet everything on Lin Ming, sorely anticipating that one day he would lead Divine Phoenix Island into breaking through to being a 5th-grade sect. This decisive resolution had caused many people to be discontent. However, Lin Ming's talent was just too inspiring. Even a character like Mu Fengxian had been convinced. How could anyone else argue otherwise? All of those whose bloodline needed to be just a bit purer in order to cultivate the complete vermilion bird forbidden divine chronicle secretly slandered Lin Ming. However, no matter how much resentment they felt, they dared not speak publicly. But now, Lin Ming had died. And therefore all of the vermilion bird blood essence was completely lost. When Lin Ming was alive, there were people that were already darkly jealous of him. In particular, those like Yang Fuhong, core disciples that were stuck in the middle. Because of Lin Ming's appearance, their chances of climbing up had even worsened. But Lin Ming's suppressive presence was too great. His talent surpassed even Mu Chenyu, and someday in the future, he might even be titled as the Saint's Son. Although he hadn't yet grown, he had obtained the support of Mu Chenyu, Mu Yu Huang, and Mu Fengxian. As for his future, it would be incredible. When he reached the revolving core realm, he even had a possibility of becoming the highest elder. Who would dare to provoke such a person? Now that Lin Ming had died, the situation was completely different. The wall that had pushing everyone down had vanished, and those like Yang Fuhong who lost resources because of Lin Ming would not miss this opportunity to vent their dissatisfaction. And there were many of these people that also had connections. They represented a fairly large and influential force. Mu Yu Huang was already ready to deal with them. Like the 7 profound valleys, Divine Phoenix Island was not some monolithic block of opinion and ideas. As the island master of Divine Phoenix Island, and also the leading power and authority, there would naturally be those who refused to accept this fact. Although it wasn't possible to topple Mu Yu Huang because of Lin Ming's death, it was still enough to make her feel disgusted and sick. Yua, I know you are sad, but a human's death is like an extinguished lamp. You have to accept this. Mu Yu Huang saw Mu Chenyu's oblivious expression and sighed. Perhaps it was best for Yua to not participate in this meeting with the Council of Elders. Master, is Lin Ming really dead? Is there no other possible reason? Mu Chenyu looked at Mu Yu Huang, her voice trembling. Mu Yu Huang shook her head. Although she also very much wanted to find an alternative reason, the situation with the Divine Phoenix Mystic Realm had been the same ever since Divine Phoenix Island was founded 3,000 years ago. Every time people entered the Divine Phoenix Mystic Realm's smelting trials, they would also leave at the same time. If anyone was missing, they would forever be missing. There had never been an exception. I do not believe this. Mu Chenyu stubbornly said, I know Lin Ming the best. From when I met him, he broke into the Flood Dragon's cave, cured my wounds, absorbed the purple Flood Dragon Divine Thunder, became the champion of the 7 Profound Valleys Total Faction Martial Meeting, cultivated the Vermilion Bird Forbidden Divine Chronicle until he defeated Lei Mubai. What has he done that hasn't been beyond all expectations? He has already given too many surprises. Why can it not happen one more time? As Mu Chenyu spoke, life seemed to come back into her eyes. Her voice became faster, and more confident. I cannot believe Lin Ming is dead. I will not believe Lin Ming is dead. Mu Yu Huang didn't know what to say. Her lips moved, but eventually no words came out. After a long silence, Mu Yuhuang asked, "Would you like to go to the Council of Elders?" "I'm going." Mu Qianyu stood up. No matter what, she was the saintess of Divine Phoenix Island. She was not some opinionless little girl who would be affected by news that she could not verify herself. Within the Grand Hall of Divine Phoenix Mountain, a flame-colored spirit boat slowly landed. Mu Yuhuang and Mu Qianyu both disembarked from the spirit boat. After they entered the Grand Hall, they found that many other elders had already gathered. As they saw Mu Yuhuang arrive, many of these elders had expressions of regret and sorrow. Divine Phoenix Island had lost a supremely talented disciple, and also the chance of being promoted to a 5th-grade sect. But there were also many faces that sneered. Among these was a Vermilion Bird faction great elder, Mu Qihua. Within Divine Phoenix Island, all the major power players had the last name Mu. They were the direct descendants of Divine Phoenix Island's original master ancestor who had founded the sect. This Mu Qihua was Mu Qianyu's distantly related uncle, and also her uncle master. Mu Qihua had competed with Mu Yuhuang for the position of island master. But Mu Fengxian had in the end chosen Mu Yuhuang as her successor, and thus Mu Qihua was only able to take the role of a great elder. As the island master, Mu Yuhuang directly controlled the distribution of all resources. It was far above the authority of a great elder by a wide margin. It had to be known that there were extremely complex and divisive internal relations within Divine Phoenix Island. After 300 years of growth, all sorts of close relatives, distant relatives, mentors, disciples, fellow apprentices, family, friends, all of them were gathered in one's place. Sometimes, there were even those that were unable to determine just what relationships they had. In this case, it would be handled by certain leaders within Divine Phoenix Island who had been chosen to represent the interests of those that were blood-related and those that had a master and disciple relationship. This was because the allocation of resources was of utmost importance. A family clan's younger generation and direct descendants, just who didn't need resources? Just who didn't want to have more achievements? 1 or 2 drops of Vermilion Bird blood essence was often enough to bridge the gap between the extreme Xiantian realm and the revolving core realm. How could this not arouse the jealousy and resentment of others? As he saw Mu Yuhuang arrive, Mu Qihua sneered and didn't speak. Mu Yuhuang directly walked to the seat of honor and sat down. Then she glanced at everyone and clearly spoke, stressing each word, "Lin Ming has died." Those around her didn't have much response. This matter was already known to everyone. "This is my matter and also my responsibility," Mu Yuhuang frankly said. Although she obtained Mu Fengxian's approval before gifting Lin Ming with all the Vermilion Bird blood essence she possessed, she was the one to originally raise this idea. "Your responsibility?" Mu Qihua rudely said. "Hi Master Yuhuang, you should know that in the younger generation, those core disciples at the edge only need 1 or 2 drops of blood essence to enhance their talent to the degree where it is enough to practice the core sections of the Vermilion Bird Forbidden Divine Chronicle cultivation method. In the future, there is no question that they would be able to become revolving core masters. But you have given Lin Ming more than 20 drops of blood essence. Over 20 drops. That is equal to over 10 revolving core masters that we will no longer have. Divine Phoenix Island's Vermilion Bird faction and Blue Luan faction have a combined total of only several dozen revolving core powerhouses." Mu Qihua wasn't exaggerating any of his words. This was how important and precious Vermilion Bird blood essence was to Divine Phoenix Island. 2 drops were enough for an extreme Xiantian master to break through to the revolving core realm. This was the truth. And revolving core realm masters were the backbone of Divine Phoenix Island. To lose all of the Vermilion Bird blood essence at once, this responsibility was not small. At this time, another elder said, "Island Master. Before, I did not oppose you in giving Lin Ming the Vermilion Bird blood essence. But you should at least have waited until he safely returned from the Divine Phoenix mystic realm before doing so. And yet you gave the Vermilion Bird blood essence to Lin Ming before he entered. What was the reason for this?" The second one who spoke was an old man named Yang Yusheng. He was an elder of Divine Phoenix Island who didn't share the last name Mu. Generally speaking, these elders that didn't share this last name were weaker. Thus, they wisely wouldn't interfere with the interpersonal faction battles. However, This Yang Yusheng was the grandfather of Yang Fuhong. Originally, Yang Fuhong was able to enter the ancient Phoenix main hall. But because of Lin Ming's appearance, he had been removed from the list of participants. This was the last time that Yang Fuhong would have been able to enter the divine Phoenix mystic realm. The next time that it opened, he would no longer have the qualifications. As for the vermilion bird blood essence, there was no share given to Yang Fuhong. Yang Fuhong had originally been pressured by Lin Ming and wasn't even able to have a bit of a temper. But now that Lin Ming had died, all of Yang Fuhong's hate and enmity had burst out, and he had gone to tearfully complain to his grandfather. Yang Fuhong was Yang Yusheng's most outstanding and talented grandson, and the family had great expectations of him. Thus Yang Yusheng would try to get some justice for Yang Fuhong. Chapter 403 Endless Trial. Chapter 403 Endless Trial. Chapter 403 Endless Trial. Mu Yuhuang coldly glared at Yang Yusheng. In normal times, she wouldn't even bother to play along with his nonsense. But now, facing the pressure from the Council of Elders, she had no choice but to explain. During the assessment in the ancient Phoenix main hall, bloodline density is the most important influencing factor. In order to obtain greater lucky chances in the ancient Phoenix main hall, one's bloodline must naturally be more purer. To give Lin Ming great lucky chances, you took the risk and gave him so much vermilion bird blood essence. Then what about the other disciples? Their bloodline purity is almost sufficient enough to practice the core sections of the Vermilion Bird Forbidden Divine Chronicle. They put so much effort into their cultivation, all for a single chance to become a fish that passes through the Dragon Gate. Isn't this just too unfair to them? Yang Yusheng's voice wasn't as emboldened or energetic as Mu Chihua's when he was arguing with Mu Yuhuang. He only spoke in a calm and moderate pace, but there was sharpness to his words that cut to the point. Mu Yuhuang's eyes became increasingly cold. Elder Yang, if you find this unfair, then you may say so to the High Ancestor. The vermilion bird blood essence was personally granted to Lin Ming by the High Ancestor herself. Mu Yuhuang was very clear that the reason that Mu Chihua and Yang Yusheng were launching verbal attacks against her together was to demand more authority. There would be more vermilion bird blood essence in the future, and they wanted the authority to control it. At least, they wanted to use this incident as a pretext to diminish Mu Yuhuang's power, and request for the distribution of the vermilion bird blood essence to be left to the Council of Elders to decide, as opposed to the vermilion bird faction sovereign singularly controlling it. It had to be known that the next vermilion bird faction sovereign would be Mu Qianyu. Mu Qianyu was also someone who stood by Mu Yuhuang. Mu Qianyu's natural talent was outstanding, and in the future she would most likely reach the extreme revolving core realm. Once she held power, it would last for 700 to 800 years. If this happened, then Mu Chihua's faction would never be able to stand up. If no master was born in a faction, then they would slowly decline and wither away. Eventually, they would even degenerate into a collateral branch. After Mu Chihua, there were also many elders in the same faction that spoke. To them, Lin Ming's death was a prelude to an intense internal power struggle. The other unrelated elders mostly stayed silent during this. They didn't want to involve themselves or stir up any trouble in the struggles of internal factions. They could only regret that such a great genius of divine Phoenix Island had been lost. Within a small guest room at one of the mountain peaks of the divine Phoenix Mountains, Lei Jingtian was meditating when suddenly a fire lit in front of him. As the message passed to his ears, he suddenly let out a happy laugh. Lin Ming fell within the divine Phoenix mystic realm? Ha ha. The heavens truly favor me. This boy, I'm glad he died early. The 5-element region and divine Phoenix Island's negations were still continuing. Such an important negation involved massive benefits, and even involved the rise and fall of a sect. It wasn't a matter that could be decided in just a few days. With both sides cooperating, there were also many details that needed to be hammered out. Negotiations had continued for half a month, and both sides had made concessions. However, they hadn't yet reached a final agreement. Lei Jingtian naturally stayed in divine Phoenix Island and hadn't left yet. Now that he heard the news of Lin Ming's death, he was overjoyed. The heavens are righteous, he is finally dead. Divine Phoenix Island's destiny is only this. They thought that they could soar into the heavens, but now it's unknown whether or not they can survive this South Sea crisis. As Lei Jingtian received news of Lin Ming's death, the other sect elders of the five-element region also received it. The Golden Bell Mountain elder was filled with deep emotion. Such a singular talent of a generation had fallen. As for the Deep Earth sect's Shizhongkuan, he was the same as Lei Jingtian, taking pleasure in this news. To him, Lin Ming's death was a matter worth celebrating. Out of the entire Divine Phoenix Island, only Mu Qianyu believed that Lin Ming was still alive. When Lin Ming had first entered the Divine Phoenix mystic realm, he hadn't left behind a Destiny Soul Jade Slip. This sort of jade slip required a martial artist to separate a sliver of their own soul and seal it into a jade slip. When the main body died, the jade slip would shatter. However, separating a wisp of one's soul would cause an extremely great soul wound. Normally, only the mediocre would leave behind a soul jade slip. A true genius would never do such a thing. Without clear evidence from something like a Destiny Soul Jade Slip, Mu Qianyu would not believe that Lin Ming had died. Bang! Within the battlefield of the Divine Phoenix Mystic Realm, Lin Ming's spear burst through a rock puppet, causing its body to explode into flames. He supported himself up with the purple comet spear, partly kneeling on the ground. His back was covered in blood, and the bones of his left hand had been broken. The right hand that held the spear was also trembling. He had finally crossed the second wave. The first wave of rock puppets was the easiest to kill and the easiest to pass. Lin Ming had only need to kill them using his overwhelming strength. But the second wave of rock puppets was a notch stronger. The first time that Lin Ming had attempted to massacre all the rock puppets, he had been seriously wounded and almost died, eventually failing to finish them off. He had returned to his cave to heal his wounds, but unexpectedly found that the puppets he killed off were all being rapidly regenerated by the array formation. As Lin Ming recovered, so did the rock puppet. The second time that he attacked, Lin Ming had gained experience from the previous attempt and had barely managed to kill them. He had also been grievously wounded as before. The third wave was absolutely not something he could defeat. Lin Ming clenched his teeth and swallowed down a healing pill. At this moment, the array formation started to revolve, and the crimson blood-colored runes began to light up one at a time. These past 10 days, Lin Ming had already discovered the rules of the smelting trial. Soon, new rock puppets would appear. He launched his movement technique and quickly returned to the cave. If he wanted to pass this smelting trial within the year, he would need to do everything possible to increase his strength. This was the general level smelting trial of the ancient Phoenix clan. Lin Ming's talent far surpassed other juniors within the South Horizon region, but when he compared himself to those of the ancient Phoenix clan, he wasn't so sure of himself. The palace spirit had stated that during the entire time it had guarded the ancient Phoenix main hall, only a single person had passed the smelting trial within a year. Not only that, but this person had come from the royal family, and had only been relegated to the general level smelting trial. The other general level talents hadn't been able to achieve this. Lin Ming revolved the true primal chaos formula, and within an hour the true essence in his body had been restored. Then, Lin Ming took out a vial of viscous red liquid. This liquid was a shattered demon heart crystal. Before, Lin Ming had obtained 10 shattered demon heart crystals. He had eaten half of one, given Mu Qianyu one, and had used part of another when he was revealing Lei Mubai's secret identity. Now, he had a bit over 8 left. This was an extremely brutal and potent medicine. The first time that Lin Ming had taken this, nearly all the blood in his body had been drained away. With his current strength, he wouldn't end up in such a pitiful state. Still, he didn't dare to absorb too much. Not just that, but if there was too much energy, he wouldn't be able to absorb it. The safest way would be to take half of a shattered demon heart crystal every few days and refine it in the heat of battle. Lin Ming took out a medicinal inscription symbol that he had drawn up when he had been at Dark Moon Island. This medicinal inscription symbol had been used to increase the potency of the heaven opening pill. Although this medicinal inscription symbol was a bit too low level for the shattered demon heart crystal, it was still better than nothing. As Lin Ming drank the shattered demon heart crystal, his entire body began to burn with a scalding heat. In his mind, the scene of the Netherworld Great Emperor fighting against countless demons appeared once more. But this time, Lin Ming wasn't lost in the immersive dream like before. He quickly broke through the illusion, manipulating the energy of the shattered demon heart crystal, and began the process of tempering his marrow. The tempering marrow boundary. This was the most important factor he would depend on to complete this smelting trial within a year. Chapter 404 Strange River. Chapter 404 Strange River. Chapter 404 Strange River. Even though Lin Ming's current cultivation had reached the peak of pulse condensation, controlling the energy of the shattered demon heart crystal to temper his marrow still caused the same aching pain as before. It was as if a saber was being twisted into his very being. This kind of energy contained the remnant will of the Netherworld Great Emperor. It was cruel, brutal, arrogant, and unruly. In order to force it to yield so that Lin Ming could use it for himself, he had to erase this will. What Lin Ming could do was use his own soul and slowly wear down the remnant will of the Netherworld Great Emperor. Lin Ming grit his teeth as sweat streamed down him. Periodically there would be small amounts of energy that escaped from his pores, but this energy was all imprisoned by the power of the medicinal inscription symbol and contained within his body. The principle behind this medicinal inscription symbol was to reduce the loss of medicinal efficacy. This medicinal inscription that was able to be fully utilized on the heaven-opening peel could still slightly affect the shattered demon hearty crystal. Thus the energy within Lin Ming's body was increasingly manic and savage. Lin Ming forcefully used the tempering marrow method found within the chaotic virtues combat meridians and urged the shattered demon heart crystal energy to enter his skeleton a bit at a time. The energy was thick and heavy like mercury, and also extremely pervasive. Even though Lin Ming's bones were extremely dense, the energy easily penetrated through. As the energy entered the marrow, Lin Ming could hear kai sounds coming from his bones. This was the energy burning his marrow, slowly refining it and changing its very nature. This was similar to when a blacksmith had to fry a wooden spear shaft in a massive wok of oil in order to cause all the impurities within them to explode. This pain was deep within his bones and utterly agonizing. Lin Ming's forehead was dripping with sweat. But compared to the last time that he had absorbed the shattered demon heart crystal, he was in a much better condition. The first time, almost all of his blood had been drained out, forming a bloody carapace that covered his body. But this time, there was only pain and sweat. In the sweat, there were traces of faint grey substances, but only a small amount. These were the impurities within Lin Ming's body. After Lin Ming had gone through several experiences of washing down his marrow and muscles, this was the result. Although Lin Ming's bodily purity couldn't compare with someone like Mu Qianyu, he also didn't have many impurities left within him. Time passed slowly. Finally, a full 2 hours had passed, and Lin Ming absorbed the last of the energy. He opened his mouth and vomited a mouthful of black blood. This vomit actually didn't stop. Lin Ming kept vomiting blood until the entire ground was covered in blood. It was quite a disturbing sight. Finally, it ended, and Lin Ming wiped his mouth. He looked within himself and found that the blood within his blood vessels was extremely bright red, and thick like mercury. Marrow and blood were inextricably linked. Marrow produced blood, and blood rejuvenated the marrow. In order to temper one's marrow, one needed to create new blood. After Lin Ming ate half of the shattered demon heart crystal, the golden color of his marrow was much richer than before. He had come closer to completing tempering marrow by another 5% or so. Half of a shattered demon heart crystal was 5%, and a whole one would be almost 10%. Now, Lin Ming's tempering marrow was around 25% complete. Even though the future medicinal efficacy of these pills would weaken, once he finished eating the 8 shattered demon heart crystals, Lin Ming estimated that he should complete tempering marrow by around 60 to 70%. Tempering marrow was a great boundary. Completing it was much more difficult than Lin Ming had previously assumed. He didn't know just how strong he would be after completing tempering marrow. As Lin Ming sat in meditation for half an hour, his stomach began to growl in hunger. Before Lin Ming had entered the divine phoenix mystic realm, he had filled his spatial ring with all sorts of food. As he took out cured meats and dry rations, He heard a faint trickling sound coming from within the cave, as if there was water nearby. Lin Ming's mind stirred. He put away the dry rations and began walking into the cave. After he walked several hundred feet, he saw that there really was an underground river in the cave. The river water was incomparably clear and beautiful. However, Lin Ming felt that there was something not quite right. As he reached out his hand to scoop some up, he suddenly sucked in a breath of cold air. This river water was very heavy. At least, it was no lighter than mercury. Not only that, but the temperature of the water was terrifyingly high. It was already several times above boiling. As Lin Ming was cupping the water, he found out that during that time a great amount of the true essence that protected his body had melted away. What kind of river is this? Lin Ming's complexion wasn't too good. Everything he found within this divine phoenix mystic realm was strange and dangerous. Millimeter? What's that? Lin Ming discovered that there were actually creatures within the river. These creatures looked like giant crabs, and their whole body was covered with red bony armor as they lurked underneath the water. They stared at him with wide eyes. The 2 claws were over 2 feet long. If it can survive in this place, then it's not some friendly animal. The temperature was several times the boiling temperature, but these crabs could still survive here. Even Lin Ming wouldn't be able to do so. He could stay under the water for a long time, but he would eventually have to give up after his true essence was exhausted. But these crabs took this river as their home, and simply didn't fear the high temperatures. A giant crab with a 4 or 5 foot tall body suddenly rose up. It brandished its 2-foot-long claws as it tried to clamp down on Lin Ming, as if it wanted to cut him off at the waist. "It takes me as prey," Lin Ming sneered. He punched out with the body-tearing, bone-shattering fist. Azure true essence erupted. Bang! The crab flew backwards, rolling around. It finally stopped, jumped up and ran away. It didn't die. Lin Ming was shocked. This punch was able to kill a late Houtian martial artist. But this big crab had actually resisted it. Too strong. Soon, 7 or 8 giant crabs gathered in the river. Lin Ming was stunned for a moment, and then realized that the crab fellow had gone back to gather its buddies. These crabs were the overlords of the river. They had never suffered a loss like this before. Now, they swore to eliminate Lin Ming. Pu. 7 or 8 giant crabs ran out of the river together, rushing to kill Lin Ming. This time, Lin Ming no longer held back. He took out the purple comet spear and fused the divine demon thunder soul into the shaft. The power of thunder exploded, and with a flourish of the spear, the entire cave was basked in a radiant purple light. Catcher. 7 or 8 bolts of thunder dropped down from the sky, each one striking a giant crab. All of the crabs were instantly killed by Lin Ming. As Lin Ming looked at the giant crabs on the ground, he suddenly remembered something. The palace spirit had said that this cave was the residence for those participating in the general level smelting trail. Was this the food and water that were supplied? Lin Ming hesitated for a moment, and then walked over to a giant crab. He grabbed it, and then used a great deal of effort to smash its palm-thick shell. Inside was glisteningly tender red and white meat. He dug out a big chunk and began to roast it over a fire. Lin Ming had already become accustomed to bringing along salt and other seasonings. He casually sprinkled some onto the crab meat, and a delicious fragrance began to waft out. Lin Ming took a careful bite. This strange giant crab's meat was extremely savory and tender, yet still chewy. Lin Ming took his time. After he carefully determined that there weren't any side effects, he began to heartily chow down. This strange giant crab's meat was very resistant to high temperature. No matter how he roasted it, it would not char or become overburnt. As he tasted it, its flavor was extremely delicious, and was even better than the dishes found within famous restaurants. This is the good stuff. Even Lin Ming, a connoisseur who was relatively picky about food, couldn't help but praise this strange crab meat. Millimeter. The crab meat in my stomach seems to nourish my body's true essence. Lin Ming was surprised to discover. As the crab meat entered his stomach, a low heat began to flow out and dissipate. This was an extremely comfortable feeling. He felt the fire attribute true essence in his body slowly strengthening. The magnitude of enhancement from this crab meat was far less than eating pills, but it absolutely won in terms of purity. There were no impurities and toxins contained within. It was equivalent to eating spiritual vegetables and spiritual grains. However, the effects were at least 100 times greater than the spiritual foods found within Divine Phoenix Island. Lin Ming was shocked. This was what participants in the Ancient Phoenix Clan's General Level Smelting Trial ate. The Ancient Phoenix Clan. Lin Ming only needed to hear this name to roughly guess that they would have the bloodline of a god beast within them. It was difficult to imagine just how formidable their talent was. In addition, they studied the techniques and skills of the Ancient Phoenix Clan. They had training grounds like the smelting trial in the Divine Phoenix Mystic Realm, and also all sorts of amazing medicines and foods. How could their talent not be outstanding? It was no wonder that the weakest and most inferior king-level talent within the Ancient Phoenix Clan could also complete the general-level smelting trial within a year. Maybe, only the king-level are true members of the Ancient Phoenix Clan. And, the so-called general level is only for the subordinates of the Ancient Phoenix Clan. As Lin Ming realized this, the original contentment in his heart vanished. The road he walked was still inestimably long. However, the more it was like this, the more it aroused the competitive spirit within Lin Ming's heart. If he had already stood at the top of all the geniuses of the 3,000 infinite universes, then, with no goal to pursue, he would feel desolate and bored. But now, it looked like he fell far short. After he ate a giant portion of crab meat, Lin Ming drank the water from the river. The river water also had similar effects to the crab meat. It was able to moisten and refine the true essence within his body. Even water has this effect. Not just that, but the fire attribute true essence here is much richer than the outside. If I wish to practice actual combat, there is still a giant battle waiting outside for me. This is truly a great place to practice. Within the Divine Phoenix Mystic Realm, if one wanted to battle, there were countless opponents outside. If one wanted to cultivate, there was extremely rich fire attribute true essence. Even eating or drinking would increase one's strength. What place would be quicker to cultivate in than here? After Lin Ming drank his fill, he felt the crab meat and water turning into heat within his body and scurrying around. His body flushed with a frantic energy. If he didn't release this energy soon, he would be feeling unwell for a while. Lin Ming couldn't wait to go out and fight. Lin Ming took out the purple comet spear from his spatial ring and launched his movement technique, directly flying out of the cave. Outside the cave, several hundred rock puppets had already gathered on the plains. But this time, the flaming rock puppets were in the majority. These flaming rock puppets were much stronger than the ordinary rock puppets. As he saw this vast number of rock puppets, Lin Ming's fighting spirit shot up. He trod forwards, his body shooting out like an arrow, creating a perfect arc as he landed in the midst of a puppet group. The rock puppets roared, and columns of flames came blasting towards Lin Ming. He faintly smiled and instantly activated Golden Rock, shattering the void. He was like a swallow within a storm, dancing in the midst of the crowded flames, like thread through the needle. Hoo hoo hoo. All of the columns of fire passed by Lin Ming. A 1,000-foot distance was crossed in the blink of an eye. As Lin Ming arrived in front of the first flame puppet, the purple comet spear came sweeping down. Bang! With a loud explosion, the flaming puppet was broken apart by Lin Ming's spear. As strength flowed through his entire body, Lin Ming could hear his bones popping and snapping. This inestimably comfortable feeling made him want to groan and shout, "Fight!" After tempering his marrow and eating a massive amount of crab meat, Lin Ming felt energy crashing throughout his entire body. If he didn't vent this energy, then he would never feel comfortable. Peng peng peng. A spear thrust out. Arcs of lightning shot out into all directions, blazing flames jetted into the sky, and an azure light sliced through the void. Wherever the purple comet spear went, crushed stone would fly. Chapter 405 War Begins. Chapter 405 War Begins. Chapter 405 War Begins. Great. Well done. Again. The more Lin Ming fought, the more excited he became, and the more he burned with fighting spirit. The wounds on his body kept increasing, but no matter how much blood came out, it was like he didn't feel anything at all. As Lin Ming massacred every single puppet, his entire body was slick with blood, and his true essence was depleted. As he lay prone on the ground, pain coming from all over his body, Lin Ming felt a pleasant satisfaction in his heart. There were those that were born for battle. Lin Ming was undoubtedly such a person. Every day, he would cultivate the vermilion bird forbidden divine chronicle as well as the chaotic virtues combat meridians. He would eat, drink, and build up the true essence within his body with the food he ate. When he needed to practice, he would go outside to the battlefield. Like this, time quickly passed. Lin Ming cultivated without a care of time. But as he continued progressing on the general level smelting trial, there were actually tremendous changes in the outside world. The war between Divine Phoenix Island and the South Sea Demon region had finally erupted. Although the South Sea Demon region was a 5th grade sect, their strength was at the lowest of 5th grade sects. As for Divine Phoenix Island, they were at the very peak of all 4th grade sects. Thus, the gap in strength between the two parties wasn't too great. In addition, Divine Phoenix Island had also obtained the assistance of the 19 3rd grade sects in the Divine Phoenix region, as well as support from an alliance with the 5-element region. Whether or not the South Sea Demon region would emerge victorious was uncertain. Both sides had their own scruples and matters to settle. The war originally would have been stalled for a much longer period of time, but because of Lei Mubai's utter ruination, he had become the fuse that had prompted the advanced outbreak of war. As the war started, it would first revolve around a few true essence stone vein deposits that were located in the South Sea. Later, the two sides would begin a complete large-scale war. The main force of the war was naturally the Xiantian and Hutian realm martial artists. Revolving core masters rarely fought. Even if they did, the opponent may look miserable but still be full of energy. In truth, it was an incomparably difficult task to kill the enemy. When it came to a martial artist at the level of a revolving core master, defeating one was easy, but completely eliminating one was another matter altogether. The war went on for a full 2.5 months without a single revolving core master dying. Those that died were mostly Hutian and pulse condensation martial artists as well as a great number of Xiantian masters. War was a disaster that led to calamity throughout the land. But to geniuses, this was also a great chance. Since ancient times, the eras in which supreme elders and other characters like that had arisen from within the Sky Spill continent had always been eras in which the flames of war had blazed all over. If the young flowery geniuses never experienced and tempered themselves through the true terrors of war, they would never grow. Thus, regardless of whether it was the South Sea Demon region or Divine Phoenix Island, they would send their core disciples to battle. Mu Dingshan, Mu Xiaoqing, and others had already gone to battle many times. Even Mu Chenyu had fought. Of course, every time she did so, she was accompanied by a revolving core master who would ensure her life was never in absolute danger. At the front of the South Sea, on an island several 100,000 miles away from Divine Phoenix Island, Mu Chenyu was standing vigilant on a beach, staring at the endless sea. Her eyes were full of sorrow. The sky was overcast, and the sea breeze caused Mu Chenyu's silky hair to dance in the air. It seemed as if it could rain at any moment. For the past 3 months, Mu Chenyu had been in a miserable mood. There had still been no message or news of Lin Ming, and even Mu Chenyu's confidence began to waver with the passage of time. These days, as she stood alone, she couldn't help but remember when she had been at the base of Thundercrash Mountain, and her experiences there with Lin Ming. It had been over a year ago. Yet, she could clearly recall it like it had been yesterday. She hadn't expected that events would turn out like this. It was as if she were living a dream. "Cousin Chenyu, what are you thinking about?" A gentle voice asked from behind Mu Chenyu. He was an extremely handsome man who held a long sword in his hand. He was Mu Chenyu's distant cousin, Mu Qingshu, as well as the most outstanding grandson of the Vermilion Bird faction's third elder. He was 32 years old, and a half-step into the revolving core realm. He had amazing talent and a splendid background. Within Divine Phoenix Island, Mu Qingshu was a nearly unapproachable man that many beautiful female disciples yearned for. Not to mention the 20 to 30-year-old female disciples, but even the younger ones all took Mu Qingshu as their dream lover. Mu Chenyu didn't bother turning her head. These past few months, When she had gone to battle, it would always be with Mu Qingshu. Even when they lived in their small houses, it would be in neighboring ones. All of this had obviously been arranged by certain individuals. Mu Qianyu knew more or less that these was the actions of the third elder. From a young age, the third elder had brought up matters of marriage and engagement with Mu Qingshu to Mu Yuhuang. At the time, this had been turned down by Mu Yuhuang. To Divine Phoenix Island, Mu Qianyu's future marriage was a very important matter. Mu Qianyu was the saintess of Divine Phoenix Island. One didn't even need to discuss her lofty status, temperament, or inspiring beauty. One just needed to know that the vermilion bird bloodline within her body was no less than that of Divine Phoenix Island's founder. If one could marry Mu Qianyu, they would also be able to obtain the primordial yin energy that came from being the one to take her virginity. Thus, one would also gain a very pure saint-beast bloodline. Who didn't desire something so wonderful? If Mu Qianyu were to be married, then the third elder believed that his grandson Mu Qingshu was the only one within the entire Divine Phoenix Island who was suitable and qualified to match up to Mu Qianyu. However, Mu Yuhuang had also looked at Mu Qingshu with disdain. Mu Qingshu was okay, but he was only at the level of Mu Dingshan. He wasn't even a saint-level talent. How could he possibly be worthy of her Mu Qianyu? But 3 months ago, Mu Yuhuang had given all of the vermilion bird blood essence to Lin Ming, without even the thought that Mu Qianyu would marry Lin Ming in the future. However, the future was hard to predict. After Lin Ming had entered the Divine Phoenix mystic realm, he had not returned. And thus, all of Mu Yuhuang's hopes and dreams had faded into nothingness. At this time, some of the great elders had united together to attack her. Mu Yuhuang had no choice but to start thinking about potential allies to consolidate her position in her faction. And the third elder was a good candidate to do so. But if she wanted to win over the third elder to her side, the price she had to pay was obvious. Mu Yuhuang didn't want to take the matter of Mu Qianyu's future marriage as an exchange. But as she thought about it more, it did seem that besides Mu Qingshu, there was no one in the entire Divine Phoenix Island who had the qualifications to marry Mu Qianyu. If Mu Qianyu had to be married in the future, then the only one she could marry would be Mu Qingshu. As Mu Yuhuang realized this, she also tacitly yielded to the third elder's wishes and made some arrangements. Thus, the situation now was that Mu Qianyu and Mu Qingshu always went out to battle together. Mu Qianyu was well aware of everything. Cousin Qianyu, the skies seem as if they are about to rain soon. How about returning to our lodgings? Please do not worry about me, senior apprentice brother. Senior apprentice brother, please return first. Mu Qianyu's voice was neither cold nor hot, and her words held a strange hint of tempered unfamiliarity. Mu Qingshu laughed twice, and then shook his head saying, Cousin Qianyu wants to bathe in rain? Ha ha, well, as martial artists, staying under the rain is no problem. Then, I shall accompany Cousin Qianyu in showering under this rain. This can be considered an act of elegance. Mu Qianyu was somewhat taken aback. Since he had already said this, she had nothing left to say. She silently stood there. Cousin Qianyu, are you worrying about the South Sea War? After a period of heavy silence, Mu Qingshu tried to raise a topic of conversation. No, I am just in a poor mood. Mu Qianyu shook her head, unwilling to say more. Mu Qingshu reluctantly smiled, but the corners of his lips still twitched several times. He wasn't an idiot, and he clearly knew why Mu Qianyu's mood was so poor. Ever since the third elder had spoken of marriage matters to Mu Qingshu had already started to regard Mu Qianyu as his fiancé. And what man could tolerate his own fiancé thinking of another man, even if that person was already dead? The heavy rain came. But Mu Qianyu had no interest in soaking under the rain. Every raindrop that touched her would instantly be evaporated by fire attribute true essence. Senior apprentice brother may stay here, I shall return first. As Mu Qianyu finished speaking, she deeply looked at the shadow of rain over the endlessly vast waters. She sighed in her heart, and then turned around and walked away. Mu Qingshu also had no more interest in following her. He stood in the heavy rain alone, his complexion ugly. His originally handsome appearance was also twisted into nothing. He's already dead, but he can still have you worry so much? Mu Qingshu didn't feel happy. You have no choice in your future marriage. Sooner or later, the one you marry will be me. If you can love me wholeheartedly and take care of me well, then I will also be good to you and do the same. But if your heart is filled with other men even after our great wedding, then do not blame me for being heartless in the future. Time passed day by day. 4 months, 5 months, half a year. Divine Phoenix Island still hadn't announced Lin Ming's death. But news of his death still slowly spread. The Seven Profound Valleys was an ally of Divine Phoenix Island, and was also participating in the war with the South Sea Demon region. To the Seven Profound Valleys geniuses, this was also a good opportunity to hone their strength. Their disciples contacted the disciples of Divine Phoenix Island, and they thus learned that Lin Ming had died. At the start they had assumed this was a rumor. But afterwards, they were able to gradually confirm it. The Seven Profound Valleys disciples were shocked. Most of them had bore witness to the complete process of when Lin Ming had become champion of the Total Faction Martial Meeting. This Lin Ming, who was overflowing with talent, actually fell from the heavens. This was simply unbelievable. Unimaginable, really unimaginable. On a small island in the South Sea, a blue-clothed swordsman held a jug of wine as he sat on the beach, his sword stabbed into the ground in front of him. This blue-clothed swordsman was the top talent who had grandly lost to Lin Ming during the Total Faction Martial Meeting, Jiang Baoyun. At that time, Jiang Baoyun's strength was not much worse than Lin Ming's. Thus, ever since then, Jiang Baoyun always felt a familiar and friendly feeling towards Lin Ming. I had wanted to take you as my goal in life, hoping to chase after your shadow. I did not think that even the heavens would be so jealous of someone with your ability, that you actually fell within the Divine Phoenix mystic realm. That I have lost all chances to fight you in the future, that is my life's great regret. Jiang Baoyun heaved a deep sigh, and poured the jug of wine onto the beach. My sword is your monument and the sand is your mound. This wine is my parting gift to you. In life you were a heroic man, and in death may you be an outstanding ghost. Of course, there were also those within the Seven Profound Valleys that were heartily enjoying news of Lin Ming's death. And among these, the one who felt the greatest joy was Ouyang Boyon. 1 year ago, Ouyang Boyon's nephew Ouyang Duhua had died to Lin Ming. But, because of Lin Ming's unique status, he couldn't do anything against him. Of course, in reverse, Lin Ming certainly couldn't do anything against Ouyang Boyon. Ouyang Boyon's cultivation had already reached the peak of the early Xiantian realm, and was close to reaching the middle Xiantian realm. As one of the senior elders of the Seven Profound Valleys, there were many complicated forces supporting him from behind. Lin Ming had no proof that Ouyang Boyon had tried to kill him, but even if he did, it would be very difficult to bring him down. Lin Ming could only avoid Ouyang Boyon. He had even entrusted Qin Zia with arranging his parents to a safe place, in fear of Ouyang Boyon's retaliation. The seeds of hatred had already been planted within Ouyang Boyon's heart. But after Lin Ming had gone to Divine Phoenix Island, Ouyang Boyon could only hopelessly dream of his revenge. He had not thought that today, he would actually obtain the great news of Lin Ming's passing. Ha 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 ha. The great heavens are righteous. This boy has died well. In a high loft, Ouyang Boyon laughed. Regrettably, I was unable to personally kill you and resolve the hate in my heart. Ouyang Boyon clenched his fists, and suddenly seemed to think of something. The corners of his mouth curved up in a fiendish grin. Come to think of it, that boy's lover Qin Xingxuan is also in my Seven Profound Valleys. Good. Since I cannot kill you myself, I shall vent all my anger upon your lover. Little girl, do not blame me. If you want to blame someone, then blame Lin Ming. Chapter 406 Transfer Order. Chapter 406 Transfer Order. Chapter 406 Transfer Order. When Lin Ming was alive, Ouyang Boyon wouldn't have dared to act against Qin Xingxuan. But now that Lin Ming had died, he didn't need to hesitate any longer. He only feared that Divine Phoenix Island wouldn't be indifferent to Lin Ming's matters. But as Ouyang Boyon thought of a person, he frowned. That Qin Zia, because of his relationship with Lin Ming, he was able to receive a heaven-opening pill, and that lucky bastard actually broke through to the Xiantian realm, becoming an elder. Those idiotic zither faction fellows care about such boring things like favors and friendship and graciousness. If I want to deal with Qin Xingxuan, then he'll most likely try to stick his face in. Ouyang Boyon's ideal result would be that he would lay a trap for Qin Xingxuan and then capture her, bringing her to the Acacia faction so that he could cultivate his divine Acacia power on her. After he sucked dry her yin energy, he would kill her. That would be the best way to vent his anger. But Qin Xingxuan was an official disciple of the Seven Profound Valleys, and also had Qin Zia protecting her. If he wanted to quietly do this, the chances of success were low. Humph, since there's an annoying fellow hanging around, I'll let you live for another couple days. If I do anything now, then I'll be too obvious. First I'll wait for some time to pass and look for an opportunity to send Qin Xingxuan into a certain death battlefield, and kill her using someone else. Hehe, this is also good. If she died to those demon art cultivators of the South Sea Demon region, that would be even more fun. Thinking of this, Ouyang Boyon's smile became increasingly malevolent. Die. Lin Ming stepped forth with golden rock shattering the void and the purple comet spear in his hand fiercely thrust out, directly smashing a rock puppet into pieces. But at the same time, 4 or 5 more rock puppets had surrounded him. I can't hold on. Lin Ming grit his teeth, and decisively opened the heretical god force. His aura completely erupted. Lin Ming's strength instantly rose to a new level. Thunderfire annihilation. Bang! A violent explosion destroyed all the puppets that had surrounded him, instantly blowing them to pieces. Lin Ming used the explosive thrust force of the shockwave and leapt back, shooting like an arrow out of the surrounding puppet group and returning to the cave. Close call. Lin Ming let out a long breath of relief. The probability of death in this general level smelting trail was very high. If he were to be injured and then surrounded by puppets, death could occur at any moment. Lin Ming had continuously used the heretical god force and Thunderfire annihilation as his final cards. If he couldn't persist in the battlefield any longer, he would detonate Thunderfire annihilation, killing all the puppets around him so he could escape. Tempering marrow is around 40% complete, and my true essence has already filled to the limit of pulse condensation. As long as I can go up a bit further, I'll be able to break through to the Hutian realm. Currently, Lin Ming's true essence in his meridians had already filled to the limit, and true essence had gathered in his dantian. As long as he could connect these two, he would be able to truly step into the Hutian realm. But Lin Ming was thinking of letting his meridians overflow, so that he would spontaneously break through to the Hutian realm. If he did it this way, his foundation would be even more stable. As Lin Ming meditated, he took out the sealed fallen star flame from his spatial ring. He untied the seal. The fallen star flame appeared. It had transformed into the shape of a small leopard and was violently struggling against its bonds. It's your turn. Lin Ming directly pressed the fallen star flame into his chest. A tremendous energy that was contained with a medium-grade earth-step flame essence burst forth. A massive amount of energy broke into his meridians, savagely conflicting with Lin Ming's own true essence. Under this trembling surge of energy, the energy in Lin Ming's dantian and meridians also received a severe shock. As the energy of the fallen star flame began to be gradually assimilate into his true essence, after some time, Lin Ming could hear a cracking sound. The true essence within his dantian and meridians had connected. Millimeter. Hutian realm. Lin Ming forced a smile. He didn't think that he would break through to the Hutian realm during this critical period, but this was also good. With the support of his dantian, it would be even easier to absorb the fallen star flame. Otherwise, with Lin Ming's current strength, absorbing the medium-grade earth-step flame essence wouldn't be easy. 3 months later, Sky Fortune King's magnificent Eastern Palace welcomed its new master. Ha 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 ha. I never thought that through the winding paths of life, the one that would have the last laugh would be me. The 10th Prince Yang Zhan traced the throne of the Eastern Palace, his fingers trembling with excitement. This is all mine as it should be. Third brother, all the fear that I felt this year, I shall return it back to you. I will let you know how it feels to have everything you own in the control of others, knowing that your head can fall at any moment. As Yang Zhan spoke, his face flashed with the utter ecstasy of a fulfilled revenge. At this moment, a cold voice sounded behind him. Yang Zhen, do not forget who it is that supported you to become the new crown prince of Sky Fortune Kingdom. Yang Zhen's body trembled, and all of the overbearing arrogance that he had displayed was immediately restrained. Martial Housemaster, please rest assured. This little prince will never forget your kindness. Later, this little prince will follow all directions of Mr. Ouyang. Millimeter. Remember this well. As long as you obey, you will be guaranteed a century of rule. The one who spoke to Yang Zhen was a cloaked man. This man was the new 7 profound martial housemaster of Sky Fortune Kingdom. After Qin Zia had broken through to the Xiantian realm, he had returned to his sect as an elder. Thus, the position of Sky Fortune Kingdom's 7 profound martial housemaster was naturally empty. This man was a new candidate that had been chosen by Ouyang Boyan. This cloaked man was a disciple that Ouyang Boyan had received a long time ago. His cultivation was at a half-step Xiantian, but as a sect's half-step Xiantian martial artist, he was able to completely sweep away the entirety of Sky Fortune Kingdom's martial world. Even if Mui and all the other masters of Sky Fortune Kingdom gathered together, they would not be his match. Martial Housemaster, in order to clear out the Qin family, I shall be counting on Martial Housemaster's help. When a new emperor came in, he would assign his own courtiers and his own subordinates. Often, the first step towards this was clearing out all the court officials of the past era. The first reason was as a show of power, the second reason was to recover wealth and authority, and the third reason was to consolidate their own rule and eliminate any chance of rebellion. Since ancient times, powerful ministers and officials would never have a pleasant end. Not to mention Qin Xiao's fame. Within Sky Fortune Kingdom, the common folk all knew his name, but might not know the name of the emperor. In this situation, because of Lin Ming, Qin Xiao had supported the crown prince. So how could Yang Zhen possibly tolerate someone like Qin Xiao? I will naturally help you in clearing out the Qin family. The cloaked man indifferently said. If he wanted to deal with the Qin family, then he would also be able to conveniently deal with Qin Xingxuan. Qin Xiao may have been a god to the military of Sky Fortune Kingdom, but in his eyes, he wasn't even a fart. If he wanted to take Qin Xiao's life, no one in the martial quarters could stop him. After Yang Zhen obtained the assurance of the cloaked man, he really wanted to laugh several times. Lin Ming, I didn't expect that your actions would help me in the end. Without you, there was no way that Ouyang Boyan would have supported someone so insignificant as myself, and it would also be impossible for me to clear out the obstacle known as Qin Xiao. I really pity Qin Xiao. Qin Xiao has been brilliant and brave his entire life, yet his family produced such a catastrophic mess like Qin Xingxuan. There is also Green Mulberry City's Lin family. But there's no need to hurry. Once I sit on the throne, I will slowly deal with them. They want me to go to the open sea battlefield. After Qin Xingxuan saw the 7 profound command, she was dazed for a moment. These past months, Qin Xingxuan was in a very dark state of mind. After she heard the news that Lin Ming had died, she hadn't believed it at first, but slowly, she had no choice but to accept this fact. She had left the 7 profound martial house by herself, and with the arrangements of Qin Zia, she had gone to see Lin Ming's parents. But she hadn't told the old couple the news. Qin Zia hadn't yet either. This old couple still didn't know that their son had already fallen within the divine phoenix mystic realm. Qin Xingxuan and Lin Mu lived together for several days. Lin Mu was very happy and concerned about her, and had even made several veiled attempts to bring up the matter of marriage. In the past, this would have caused Qin Xingxuan to feel very warm and happy, but now, this only made her feel sad and morose. 2 months ago she had been sent to the South Sea battlefield. She didn't resist, she thought that battle might be able to ease her depression. Then, she had received the transfer order to go to the open sea battlefield. Open sea battlefield. Qin Xingxuan ruefully smiled. For almost a whole year, the Divine Phoenix Island Alliance and the South Sea Demon region intermittently fought, but neither side committed to a life-and-death battle. Otherwise, these 2 great sects might not be able to afford the price. However, the open sea battlefield that revolved around the 3 large true essence stone-lode islands was incomparably brutal from the start until now. Even 2 revolving core masters had fallen there. These 3 great islands were simply execution grounds. Someone wants me to die. Qin Xingxuan's eyes flashed as she looked at the martial artist that had delivered the 7 profound command, not concealing her frigid tone. A few months ago, Qin Xingxuan had learned of the simmering hatred that Ouyang Boyon had for Lin Ming and Qin Zia. Qin Zia had warned her to be careful. 2 months had passed in peace since then, but now someone wanted to plot against her. The person who delivered the 7 profound command was an inner court disciple of the Acacia faction. His cultivation was at the Middle Hutian realm, and his name was Oyu Xiong. Oyu Xiong frowned. Qin Xingxuan, what are you trying to say? This time 20 disciples have been dispatched to the open sea battlefield, you are only one of them. This is also a strategic plan of the sect. I hope that you take the overall situation seriously. Take the overall situation seriously? Qin Xingxuan's heart was filled with derision. May I ask which elder's 7 profound command this is? After Qin Xingxuan asked this question, Oyu Xiong didn't look happy at all. Qin Xingxuan, are you questioning whether or not this 7 profound command is real? Qin Xingxuan coldly said, I have no doubt that it is real. All elders have the authority to issue 7 profound commands, but I do not have to follow every elder's orders. Oyu Xiong's expression sank. The person who issued this command was the Vice War Commander, Elder Liu. Does he have the qualifications to order you? Qin Xingxuan's heart sank. Elder Liu, the internal relations within the 7 profound valleys were complex and mysterious. Ouyang Boyon had a very wide net of connections. If he wanted to obtain a transfer order, it would be simple. As Oyu Xiong saw Qin Xingxuan's complexion, he faintly smiled and used a true essence sound transmission to say, Qin Xingxuan, I will spare you the chit-chat. Yes, you have someone backing you, but Qin Zia is only an elder who was recently promoted. Who do you expect can help you? Yes, that's right, I forgot to tell you something else. After another month, the new emperor of Sky Fortune Kingdom will ascend to his throne. The new emperor is called Yang Zhen or something like that, and he also has the support of the current 7 profound martial housemaster. I heard that he has already taken control of your Qin family. Your grandfather has been placed under house arrest. You should be a good little girl and follow directions. Then, your Qin family will only be relieved of its military authority and your grandfather will be able to die naturally and peacefully of old age. Otherwise, if he happens to be charged with the crime of rebellion, then, well, you know the consequences. As Qin Xingxuan heard this, it was like she had been struck by a bolt of lightning. Her body trembled, and her beautiful face that had been red with anger had now lost all color. You, despicable beast. Despicable? Are you really so naive? Oyu Xiong looked Qin Xingxuan up and down, then disdainfully said, Who do you think you are? You think there are still people who can support you? If you don't want to go to the open sea battlefield and die, then I can offer you a path out. Dress up so you look pretty, and then go to Mr. Ouyang and beg for mercy. Serve him well, take care of him, and then maybe if Mr. Ouyang is happy, he'll release your Qin family. Chapter 407 Rescue Letter. Chapter 407 Rescue Letter. Chapter 407 Rescue Letter. Qin Xingxuan's willowy eyebrows shot up. She grit her teeth, her chest heaving. His fists were tightly balled, but she eventually didn't punch him. She knew that her strength was inferior to his, and her influence was also inferior. What could she do? She could only endure this torment. Oyu Xiong glanced at Qin Xingxuan with pity and said, What, do you think I insulted you or something? The Acacia faction has many female disciples, we do not lack a Qin Xingxuan. Since you decided to live so haughtily, then ready yourself to die. Oyu Xiong sneered and then left the hall. The one left behind was Qin Xingxuan. Her hands shook. If Ouyang Boyon wanted to deal with her grandfather, then that was simply too easy a matter. Ouyang Boyon didn't even need to do anything. As long as his disciples supported Yang Zhen and fabricated a false charge of plotting rebellion, then the Qin family would immediately be capsized overnight. The only hope Qin Xingxuan had was Qin Zia. She shivered as she took out a long-distance sound-transmitting talisman from her spatial ring and recorded a message, then lit it. Several hundred miles away, Qin Zia was sitting on a sandy beach. He lightly stroked a zither as a mass of flames slowly died out in front of him. Qin Zia heavily sighed. He shook his head, saying, when Lin Ming was alive, no one dared to bully him or anyone related to him. But now that Lin Ming has died, all the brilliance and glory that he possessed has lost any meaning. Ouyang Boyon has been silent these past few months, so I thought he had quit, but it seems that he will start his revenge on Lin Ming's family and friends. I owe Lin Ming for his graciousness, so I cannot idly stand by. If I let this happen, then this will run contrary to my zither heart. Unfortunately, I have just been promoted to an elder and my strength is weak, my connections are also limited. If I want to resist Ouyang Boyon, it is simply impossible unless I look for help. Of those that knew Lin Ming, the strongest one and the one who can most help me is Mu Qianyu. If she could stand up for Qin Xingxuan, then she can guarantee 100 years of safety for the Qin family and Lin family. Mu Qianyu was the future leader of Divine Phoenix Island. With just a few words, no matter how gutsy or courageous Ouyang Boyon was, he would never dare to harm Qin Xingxuan ever again. But the question was, would Mu Qianyu help? Qin Zia had never seen Mu Qianyu before, he had only heard that she and Lin Ming were close friends. As to what sort of person she was, Qin Zia was completely unclear. I cannot abandon hope here. If Mu Qianyu isn't willing to help, then I can still look for other ways. As Qin Zia though this, he wrote a letter and sent it to Divine Phoenix Island's Mu Qianyu. Since the outbreak of war within the South Sea, the 7 profound valleys had allied with Divine Phoenix Island. Both of them corresponded with each other, and the methods in which they did so were much more than sound transmissions. Of course, letters were much more frequent. The consumption of true essence stones in sending these letters was much more efficient. Within the South Sea battlefield, Qin Zia found a letter delivering transmission array that the 7 profound valleys managed and then started the array to send out the letter. The South Sea was an extremely vast swathe of land. The islands that Qin Zia and Mu Qianyu were on were separated by nearly 500,000 miles. After several passes through transmission arrays that took 3 days, the letter finally reached Mu Qianyu. At the receiving location, there was a disciple who was responsible for receiving the letters and then classifying and separating them, so that they could be further processed to other locations. Millimeter. A letter for Her Highness Qianyu. The 7 profound valleys elder Qin Zia. A 3rd grade sect's new elder wants to deliver a letter to our saintess. With Mu Qianyu's status, this disciple wasn't qualified to deliver a letter to her. That's right, the 7 profound valleys is the sect that Lin Ming came from. The disciple had an unsettled expression. In order to speed along the matter of Mu Qianyu and Mu Qingshu's wedding, the 3rd elder had arranged for Mu Qianyu to stay at this island. Naturally, everyone here was under the control of the 3rd elder. Mu Qingshu was their master, and any matter that occurred must first be reported to him. The disciples on the island almost all knew the delicate relationship between Mu Qingshu, Mu Qianyu, and Lin Ming. Not only that, but they knew that Mu Qingshu's mood had been extremely bad these last few days. This letter came from the 7 profound valleys that had once been Lin Ming's sect. As a result, this was an extremely unusual situation. Thinking this, the disciple sent a sound-transmitting talisman to Mu Qingshu, senior apprentice brother Mu, an elder from the 7 profound valleys has sent a letter to Her Highness Qianyu. After Mu Qingshu received this sound-transmitting talisman message, he frowned. 7 profound valleys elder? He was probably connected to Lin Ming. Give me the letter. Mu Qingshu's mood was just terrible at this moment. Yes. Soon, the letter was delivered and Mu Qingshu impolitely opened it. Although the letter was sealed, it could still be resealed without looking any different. If it wasn't some letter that was related to Lin Ming, then he might as well pass it to Mu Qianyu. As soon as Mu Qingshu opened the letter, he read through it and was immediately angry. Lin Ming. It's really about that damn fellow. Even though he's dead, his ghost still haunts me. Millimeter. This is. As Mu Qingshu continued to read, he was no longer angry. In fact, as he read along, his angry expression turned to a happy smile. Haha, so it's about this. Now that Lin Ming has died, all of his enemies from before are looking for revenge. Who is this Qin Xingxuan? From what I can tell, it seems she had a significant relationship with Lin Ming. Interesting. Later this might even involve the Lin family. If something so fun didn't occur, that would really be far too regrettable. Mu Qingshu's lips curved up in an evil smile. He was anticipating watching this play, and in his eyes, Qin Xingxuan was the perfect actress. Not bad. Even though my mood is poor, you've come to put on a play for me. I hope that you can act it out a bit more tragically and realistically, otherwise it will be too boring. Mu Qingshu stretched out his fingers and channeled a flame. The letter immediately ignited, and then turned into ash. Since my young cousin is so busy, I shouldn't disturb her with trivial things like this. Lest she be moved by the occasion and recall that fellow who keeps haunting her like a ghost. That would just be too unpleasant. Ah, cousin of mine, oh cousin of mine, you should quietly be my darling wife and offer me your perfectly beautiful body and primordial yin energy. If you take care of me with all your heart and soul, then I will treat you well too. I will make you feel so much pleasure that you would die. Ha ha ha. Mu Qingshu smiled with self-satisfaction and then blew away all the ash. Now that he was finally able to get back at Lin Ming, he was in an incomparably happy mood. Another month passed. Since the time that Lin Ming had entered the Divine Phoenix mystic realm, an entire 10 months had passed. On this day, the Crown Prince Yang Zhen officially ascended to the throne. The old emperor of Sky Fortune Kingdom was designated as too sick and sent into the back palace. The original Crown Prince Yang Lin was placed under house arrest in Sky Fortune City, and was unable to leave. The ceremony of the throne ascension would last for a full 7 days. Yang Lin sat alone in his palace, drinking by himself. Just a few steps away were armed guards. Yang Lin wasn't even able to take a half step out of his room. As he listened to the loud horn sounds of the ascension ceremony, Yang Lin bitterly smiled. He drank some wine, then filled up another glass and sprinkled it on the ground. Brother Lin, it seems that in a few days I'll follow you down to the Yellow Springs, Yang Lin sighed. Now that Yang Zhen has ascended to the throne, he would either be killed or put under house arrest for life. No matter what happened to him, it was all the same. Not just that, but a miserable ending awaited his younger sister and mother. After Qin Zia sent his letter, he began to count the days. He waited and waited, and after a full 10 days, there was no message. Qin Zia feared that because of how complex and fierce the war on the battlefield was, there might have been an accident with the letter. Thus, 10 days later he had a second letter delivered. But this letter disappeared like before, as if it would never return. 1 month passed. Qin Zia finally gave up. 10 days ago, Qin Xingxuan had accepted the transfer order and now had to go to the open sea battlefield. She had no choice but to do so. The life of her Qin family and its entire people were within Yang Zhen's grasp. To the absolute power of a strong martial artist, the military power of the mortal world was only joke. Qin Xiao may have been a hero within Sky Fortune Kingdom, but in front of the 7 profound martial house master Ouyang Lin, he was nothing more than a lamb to be slaughtered. As Qin Zia looked at the misty sea, he let out a deep sigh. Human death is like the extinguishing of a lamp. Both of my letters seem to have been dropped into the sea. I fear that Mu Qianyu will not care for the family of a dead man. Much less, with Qin Xingxuan's status, she might not be to Mu Qianyu's liking. Qin Zia could only ruefully smile. In truth, he actually thought that his letter simply didn't have the qualifications to reach the hands of Mu Qianyu. But no matter what happened, there was no difference to him. The end result was that the letter wasn't delivered. Even if Qin Zia personally went to Divine Phoenix Island, it would be impossible for someone of his status to see Mu Qianyu. It was just like a commoner that wanted to meet the princess. There was simply no chance to do so. Xingxuan, now that it's come to this, all I can do is try to preserve the lives of your family. The open sea battlefield is extremely dangerous, but it doesn't mean guaranteed death. As long as you can persist within the open sea battlefield and last until the end of the war. Qin Zia shook his head, mocking himself. If he had to blame anything, he could only blame his strength and background for being too weak. He was only one person, and in the past he had also been a solitary musician by himself. He had found shelter within the 7 profound valleys and had been given the last name of Qin. He could not deal with someone like Ouyang Boyon, who was from the 7 profound valleys and also had the backing of the Ouyang family clan. He was clear that if Qin Xingxuan was forced to stay at the open sea battlefield, with her cultivation which had just broken through to the pulse condensation period, it was highly unlikely that she would be able to live until the end of the war. Within the divine phoenix mystic realm, on the endless red plains, a terrifying explosion shot up to the sky, as the entire earth seemed to overturn. A bone dragon that was crimson all over was turned to ashes from the power of that blast. With the combination of the divine demon Thunder Soul and the fallen Starflame, the might of Thunderfire annihilation was earth-shattering. Lin Ming supported himself on the ground with the purple comet spear, chest heaving as he gasped for breath. Now that he had fought all the way here, his enemies were no longer limited to rock puppets. There were massive numbers of skeletons, demons, vicious beasts, and even that giant bone dragon that he had destroyed. This bone dragon's defensive strength was too amazing. In a prolonged battle with Lin Ming had been forced to use the complete Thunderfire annihilation to destroy it, turning it into ash. Even though Lin Ming's cultivation had reached the middle Hutian realm, the complete, full-strength Thunderfire annihilation still consumed 50% of his true essence. With the enhancement of the Flame Essence and Thunder Soul's grade, the energy that Thunderfire annihilation consumes is increasingly terrifying. My cultivation is already at the peak of the middle Hutian realm and Tempering Marrow has reached 60% completion. All that's left over is the last shattered Demon Heart Crystal. After breaking through to the Hutian realm, because of his solid foundation, Lin Ming's cultivation had increased by leaps and bounds. In just half a year, he had gone from the early Hutian realm to the top of the middle Hutian realm. He was just a single step from reaching the late Hutian realm. Lin Ming held the shattered Demon Heart Crystal in his hand. Once I eat this last shattered Demon Heart Crystal, I'll almost reach a breakthrough. My Tempering Marrow will also reach 65% completion. I wonder just what sort of effects that will have. As Lin Ming was about to eat the shattered Demon Heart Crystal, the space in front of him suddenly blurred. Millimeter? Palace Spirit? Lin Ming looked at the mass of white light in front of him. The palace spirit that had been in a deep slumber ever since the start of the smelting trial had finally reappeared. Chapter 408 Exit. Chapter 408 Exit. Chapter 408 Exit. After experiencing a full 10 months in the divine phoenix mystic realm, the current Lin Ming looked like an utter mess. He was in rags, almost completely naked. Lin Ming had originally brought several sets of clothes to change into in his spatial ring. When his clothes were all torn apart in battle, he would switch them for new ones. Soon, all of them were torn. Lin Ming just left a single set of relatively complete clothes for the time that he would leave this place. Thus, that was why Lin Ming was left but nothing but his body and some rags. Lin Ming's hair had originally been long. But now it was scattered and messy, and it had grown longer, reaching just past his waist. The palace spirit floated in front of Lin Ming like a wisp of ghostly fire, and then condensed into a white human face. It had a somewhat surprised expression. I passed the smelting trial? Lin Ming asked the palace spirit. All that remains before you is the last smelting trial. Before, I had said that if you are still alive by the time you complete the 5th smelting trail, then you would be able to obtain a midway reward, and that I would awake at that time. Lin Ming was surprised for a moment, and then remembered that the palace spirit had spoken such words at the very start. However, he had been in an incredibly tense and difficult situation where he had slaughtered countless enemies. Because of this, he had already mostly forgotten these words and relegated them to the back of his mind. The 5th smelting trail. I've only completed the 5th smelting trial? Yes. Every stage of the smelting trial is very long. You have only one last smelting trial left, the 6th smelting trial. It is the shortest, but it is also the hardest. If you can complete it, then you may leave. And at that time, I shall give you the blood of the ancient phoenix. The palace spirit deeply and solemnly looked at Lin Ming. If Lin Ming could do so, then he would be the first person who wasn't from the royal family that would have completed this general level smelting trail within a year. Lin Ming was overjoyed. He finally saw the light at the end of the tunnel. Although his strength had progressed quickly here every day, after going through endless battles and endless trials, all he felt was endless loneliness. Lin Ming had nearly become nothing but a killing puppet. If this continued, there would definitely be a problem with his mental state. Now, I shall grant you the reward for passing the 5th smelting trial. Since you have completed it in 10 months, you can obtain the highest rewards. You may choose from the Vermilion Bird Blood Essence, a cultivation method Jade Slip, as well as a fire attribute miracle medicine. Of these 3, you may choose one. Vermilion Bird Blood Essence, a cultivation method Jade Slip, as well as a fire attribute miracle medicine. Lin Ming first eliminated the Vermilion Bird Blood Essence, since he wanted to fight for the ancient Phoenix bloodline and also because the Vermilion Bird Blood Essence would only have a limited effect. Then, he also removed the cultivation method Jade Slip. Lin Ming didn't lack any sort of top-quality cultivation method. The fire attribute miracle medicine seemed to be the best bet. If this was a medicine from the ancient Phoenix clan, it definitely wasn't ordinary. Perhaps it might be able to enhance his tempering marrow boundary by another 20 to 30%. If that happened, then his tempering marrow would be 80 to 90% complete, and he would be close to perfection. However, just to be prudent, Lin Ming asked, "What sort of cultivation method Jade Slip and fire attribute miracle medicine is it?" This was just a random question, but the response of the palace spirit caused Lin Ming's heart to nearly jump out of his chest, and to have a shortness of breath. The palace spirit said, "The cultivation Jade Slip is the first 8 layers of the Vermilion Bird Forbidden Divine Chronicle Cultivation Method Manual. The fire attribute miracle medicine is the 30-100-year 9 Revolution Fire Lotus Grass. The first 8 layers of the Vermilion Bird Forbidden Divine Chronicle." Lin Ming was beyond shocked. That's right, he should have realized this sooner. Divine Phoenix Island's Vermilion Bird Forbidden Divine Chronicle and Blue Luan Abstract Phantom Code were both obtained by the founder after she went to the Divine Phoenix Mystic Realm. That he would be able to obtain the Vermilion Bird Forbidden Divine Chronicle within the Divine Phoenix Mystic Realm was only natural. The Divine Phoenix Island founder's Vermilion Bird Forbidden Divine Chronicle that she had obtained was riddled with flaws. According to Lin Ming's knowledge, there were only the first 5 layers of the cultivation method. Even with so many flaws, the Vermilion Bird Forbidden Divine Chronicle was no worse than cultivation methods from 5th grade sect. It had to be known that the higher one went in a cultivation method, the more terrifying its power was. A true and complete Vermilion Bird Forbidden Divine Chronicle would be a top cultivation method even within the realm of the gods. Within the legends of the ancient Phoenix cultivation methods, it was said that after completely practicing it, one could bathe in the fires of nirvana and rebirth themselves, becoming endless and immortal. If one could really achieve this effect, then he feared that this cultivation method might even surpass the heretical god force. The Vermilion Bird Forbidden Divine Chronicle was extremely significant to Lin Ming. Within the memories of those supreme elders from the realm of the gods, there were many different types of cultivation method manuals. However, not all of them were suited for Lin Ming to cultivate. For instance, Golden Rock Shattering the Void. Lin Ming had practiced this for such a long time, and yet had only been able to touch the 2nd layer, and he still struggled. In terms of speed, Lin Ming wasn't some monstrous genius. Back during the 7 Profound Valleys Total Faction Martial meeting, he had even been suppressed by Jiang Baoyun in speed. Ultimately, Golden Rock Shattering the Void simply wasn't a suitable technique for Lin Ming. Much less, Lin Ming didn't even have Wind Attribute True Essence Fusion compatibility. But the Vermilion Bird Forbidden Divine Chronicle was different. With the support of the heretical god force, when Lin Ming practiced the Vermilion Bird Forbidden Divine Chronicle, he was even quicker than Mu Qianyu. This miracle medicine would only benefit Lin Ming by himself, and there would always be chances to obtain more rare medicines in the future. But the Vermilion Bird Forbidden Divine Chronicle was actually very difficult to find. If he could obtain the Vermilion Bird Forbidden Divine Chronicle Jade Slip, then not only would it help Lin Ming, but it would also help Mu Qianyu, and eventually even Divine Phoenix Island would benefit. If he took out the first 8 layers of this cultivation method, then it was likely that many people of Divine Phoenix Island would go crazy for it. Lin Ming took a deep breath and then asked, "How many layers does the complete Vermilion Bird Forbidden Divine Chronicle have?" 9 layers. However, the final layer is only for the royal family. It cannot be rewarded. Therefore, you cannot obtain it. Lin Ming felt this was a touch tragic. But still, just the first 8 layers was incredible in itself. "I want the cultivation jade slip," Lin Ming said without any hesitation. "As you wish." A red light flashed, and then a crimson blood-like jade slip appeared in Lin Ming's palm. When it touched his palm, it was very warm. It was twice the size of a normal jade slip, and very heavy in his hand. Lin Ming casually swept through it with his sense, and suppressed the impulse to immediately read it. He first stored it in his spatial ring. Since there was only one stage left and it was also the shortest, Lin Ming had to rush past it with overwhelming force. Now, he didn't have the time to practice the Vermilion Bird Forbidden Divine Chronicle, and his heart wasn't calm enough to do so. At this moment, the smelting trail array began to revolve once again. With a rumbling sound, the earth split and a massive blood-red demon with a huge axe appeared, crawling out of the earth. This demon was 20 feet high, and had chains wrapped all around its body. Its face had 2 large fangs just like a wild boar, and its fiery crimson hair wantonly hung all over it. Lin Ming looked in shock. This demon actually looked very much like the Netherworld Great Emperor. It was only that this demon was twice the height of the Netherworld Great Emperor, and its skin was a deep red as opposed to the Netherworld Great Emperor's blue. What's going on here? Lin Ming had some suspicions in his mind and wanted to ask the palace spirit. But at this time, the white light flashed and the palace spirit had already disappeared. Lin Ming also didn't bother to think about this. In short, this was an enemy, and he would do everything he could to defeat it. He wasn't in a hurry to go onto the battlefield. First, he controlled his breathing and sat down in meditation. He mixed the shattered demon heart crystal with his own blood essence and swallowed it. Lin Ming could now absorb an entire shattered demon heart crystal with ease. He had long gotten used to suppressing the remnant will of the Netherworld Great Emperor. He began the familiar and easy technique of directing the crystal's energy to temper his marrow. Half a month later, within a remote mountain of Divine Phoenix Island, there was a deafening explosion. Rocks cracked, dirt flew everywhere, and an vortex appeared that had enough strength to send an early Xiantian realm guard flying away. Enemy attack. The South Sea Demon region has arrived. What? It was a scene of chaos. This was a sacred ground of Divine Phoenix Island, and also the fundamental basis for the existence of Divine Phoenix Island that it relied on, the Divine Phoenix Mystic Realm. For them to encounter the enemy attack here was terrifying. You are. The Xiantian Realm Guard's mouth dropped down, slack-jawed as he stared disbelieving at this youth in front of him. This youth was tall, straight, with a handsome and delicate appearance. His face seemed to have been hewn by sabers, and his 2 eyebrows were straight and slanted upwards. There was a very clear flame mark between his eyebrows that looked like a natural scar. This person's hair was a mess. In comparison, his clothes were fairly clean. The more the guard looked, the more this youth seemed like. How was this possible? Bang! Dust rose from everywhere. The youth had actually flown into the sky and soared away. His speed was fast enough to shame every Xiantian master present. I'm not wrong. That youth, didn't he look like Lin Ming? The guards present had all seen Lin Ming before when he had first entered the Divine Phoenix Mystic Realm. That's right. That youth was just a bit taller than Lin Ming, and also has those flame marks between his eyebrows. A year ago, Lin Ming was a handsome, somewhat pretty boy. Now, Lin Ming had become a heroically handsome young man. Could it really be? The complexion of everyone present changed. Lin Ming was alive. They hurriedly took out a sound-transmitting talisman to report such a massive matter. Lin Ming's speed was extremely fast. Before the several guards had passed out the sound-transmitting talismans, he had already arrived at Divine Phoenix Island's Vermilion Bird Main Hall. His speed was amazingly fast, and this was not just because of his outstanding movement technique. It was also because his true essence was too thick. It was thick to the point that even Xiantian masters couldn't compare to it. Who are you? This is a restricted area. Halt. You may not enter. A young woman cried out. She was the guard of the Vermilion Bird main hall's entrance. She drew her sword to block Lin Ming, but a sudden gust of wind stopped her, forcing her back. In the blink of an eye, Lin Ming had already entered the main hall. Lin Ming was incomparably anxious at this moment. He didn't know what had happened while he was in the Divine Phoenix mystic realm. But, as he listened to the surprised words from the guards, he was able to discern that the South Sea Demon region had already started its war with Divine Phoenix Island. First he hurried over to find Mu Chenyu or Mu Yu Huang, to understand out what the present situation was. Also, Lin Ming worried over another matter, and that was whether or not his parents had received news that he had died. Lin Ming was their only child, and also their only hope. If something had happened to his parents because they thought that he had died, he would never be able to live with the consequences. By the time Lin Ming entered the main hall, the sound-transmitting talisman flame had just extinguished in front of Mu Yu Huang. Mu Yu Huang had learnt what had happened from the guards. Still, she could not believe her own eyes as she watched a 17-year-old Lin Ming walk through the entrance. Looking at the heroic and comely youth that seemed to shine with inner spirit, Mu Yu Huang, who could watch a mountain collapse without blinking an eye, was completely and thoroughly shocked. Lin Ming had stayed within the Divine Phoenix mystic realm for a full 10.5 months, and he had actually survived and come out. Not only that, but his cultivation had actually reached the late Hutian realm. Heavens! A 17-year-old with a late Hutian realm cultivation. Even when Mu Chenyu was the same age, she was only at the early Hutian realm. Honorable Sect Master. Lin Ming was in too much of a hurry to bow. What is the situation now? Do my parents think I have died? How about senior apprentice sister Mu? Mu Yu Huang was stunned. She caught her bearings and said, Yua has gone to the battlefield. As for news of your death, it has already spread. Lin Ming's mind sank, panic almost setting in. He could not imagine what condition his parents were in now. First, he had to immediately find Qin Zia and see his own parents. Chapter 409 to the South Sea Battlefield. Chapter 409 to the South Sea Battlefield. Chapter 409 to the South Sea Battlefield. Honorable Sect Master, I would like to request permission to immediately go to Sky Fortune Kingdom so that I may see my parents. I would also like inform Senior Apprentice Sister Mu of my return, and I hope that Honorable Sect Master may help me send the message. Oh, Mu Yu Huang unconsciously nodded. She didn't know why, but now that she was facing Lin Ming, she felt something very special. This feeling was vague and indistinct, as if it came from the depths of her bloodline. Her eyes paused on the light flame marks between Lin Ming's eyebrows, and she felt her heart suddenly began to beat faster. She couldn't help but ask, Lin Ming, just what have you experienced within the Divine Phoenix mystic realm? Lin Ming said, it's a long story. Honorable Sect Master, what I'm worrying about now are my parents. I just don't have the time or patience to speak of it all. But when I return, I will have good news to tell you. Good news? Mu Yu Huang's heart stirred. She expected that Lin Ming must be referring to his lucky chances. Without a doubt, Lin Ming had experienced a massive stroke of luck within the Divine Phoenix mystic realm. This was truly good news. Mu Yu Huang would never have thought that this so-called good news of Lin Ming's would be referring to the first 8 layers of the Vermilion Bird Forbidden Divine Chronicle. If this matter were to be announced, then it would cause a massive earthquake within all of Divine Phoenix Island. Honorable Sect Master, where is my winged flood dragon? The winged flood dragon is in the pens of the sect. But its speed is far inferior to the Vermilion Bird. You may go and fly my life's Vermilion Bird, it will save you some time, and the Vermilion Bird can also protect you. Lin Ming was overjoyed. He said, thank you, Honorable Sect Master. Mu Yu Huang's Vermilion Bird was in the back of the Vermilion Bird main hall. This was a grown-up Vermilion Bird, and its wingspan reached 100 feet. Mu Yu Huang personally escorted Lin Ming to the rear palace. This was her life's Vermilion Bird, and without her command it would not listen to orders or assist others. As Mu Yu Huang entered deep into the main hall, the Vermilion Bird was already alerted in advance. A saint beast was psychic to a certain extent, and also understood the emotions and intent of others. Mu Yu Huang directly said, "Fire Shine, this time you bring, millimeter." Because they shared lifeblood, Mu Yu Huang was able to feel the panic and anxiousness coming from Fire Shine. Obviously, this sort of anxiousness was because of Lin Ming. Mu Yu Huang was surprised. What was going on with Fire Shine? "Fire Shine, bring Lin Ming to Sky Fortune Kingdom. Before you return to Divine Phoenix Island, make sure that you obey Lin Ming's orders," Mu Yu Huang said as she pet Fireshine's big head. This sort of restless feeling still pervaded within Fireshine's heart. This caused the doubts in Mu Yu Huang's heart to deepen. Was it possible that what Lin Ming had obtained within the Divine Phoenix Mystic Realm was comparable to that of Divine Phoenix Island's founder? And that was what caused Fire Shine to be so nervous. As Mu Yu Huang was lost in her thoughts, Lin Ming had already hopped atop the vermilion bird and shot into the sky. A grown vermilion bird's speed far exceeded the max velocity of a revolving core powerhouse. Lin Ming could only hear a sharp whistling sound in his ear, and in an instant, he had already left Divine Phoenix Mountain far behind. Although they were flying at a rapid speed, Lin Ming was still able to sit down and sense Fireshine's jitters. He knew that the reason for this was the bloodline within his body. Just 2 hours ago, he passed the last smelting trial. Since he had finished the general level smelting trial in 10.5 months, the palace spirit had abided by its words and bestowed upon Lin Ming the blood of the ancient phoenix. Before he was infused with the blood, Lin Ming deliberately asked if the reverse scale blood and the blood of the ancient phoenix would conflict with each other. The answer he received was that since ancient times, dragons and phoenixes had been friendly with each other and had never conflicted. Instead, they would even mutually support and reinforce the other. The concentration of the ancient phoenix blood was about the same as the reverse scale blood. Although it was just a small amount, it was still enough for any number of Emperor-level Supreme Elders to go crazy for it. The palace spirit had used a secret skill to inoculate the blood of the ancient phoenix in between Lin Ming's eyebrows. The blood had been like burning hot lava had been dropped between his eyebrows, and was an incomparably painful feeling, like he had been melting. The blood had completely burned through the spot between Lin Ming's eyebrows and had finally left behind a flame mark. This flame mark was where the blood of the ancient phoenix dwelled. Lin Ming tried to comfort Fire Shine after sitting down, calming it down as much as he could. Fire Shine finally seemed to sense Lin Ming's good intentions, and gradually no longer feared him. With a shrill cry, they rapidly flew. Through the endless sea of clouds before them, they quickly left everything behind. War had already erupted for a full 10 months. The total number of people that died on the 3 great islands within the open sea battlefield was more than the combined number of every single other battlefield together. And of these 3 great islands, the most dangerous was the land known as Blood Demon Island. Blood Demon Island was similar to the Dark Moon Island, where Lin Ming had gone before to look for the moon-seizing sect's hidden depository. There had once been an unparalleled and cataclysmic war within the South Sea, and Dark Moon Island and Blood Demon Island had both been battlefields. At that time, many powerhouses had died there. This Blood Demon Island was the eye of the South Sea demon's origins. All year long, demonic blood energy would gather, filling the air with a dense red fog. Here, countless blood demons would be born and multiply that could absorb the blood essence of others. It was an incomparably dangerous land. By all rights, a land like this should have been a barren island just like Dark Moon Island. But Blood Demon Island also had an extremely high-quality true essence stone lode, and was ripe with medium-grade true essence stones. This allowed Blood Demon Island to have value to be developed and used. These blood demons were usually suppressed and eliminated by Divine Phoenix Island. They did not dare to rebel, and usually hid deep underground. But now, Divine Phoenix Island and the South Sea Demon region were at war with each other, and a massive number of martial artists had died on Blood Demon Island. Now, this island became a paradise for these blood demons. Every day they would absorb fresh blood essence, allowing them to rapidly grow in strength. The contest that revolved around Blood Demon Island had already continued for over 3 months. In these past 3 months, both sides had launched attacks against each other, struggling for land. Not only were the 2 forces fighting, but they were also plundering the resources within the mineral lodes. Before, Divine Phoenix Island had managed the mining of this island and they wouldn't damage the spiritual pulse of Blood Demon Island. But now, who would still care about conservation matters like this? Everyone had bet their lives on plundering, and had plundered everything they could. A medium-grade true essence stone was extremely precious. Not even the moon-seizing sect's hidden treasure vault had held many of them. However, no matter how valuable medium-grade true essence stones were, the ongoing war on Blood Demon Island was just too bloody and savage. Thus, Divine Phoenix Island acquiesced and allowed everyone who participated in the war on Blood Demon Island to mine true essence stones and give them to their own sect. Qin Xingxuan's battlefield was Blood Demon Island. Peng. Qin Xingxuan's sword cut apart a blood demon. Her face was pale like paper. She had been on Blood Demon Island for almost a month. In this month, she had been severely injured several times. Now, what kept her walking was the support of her own convictions. The wounds began to pile up within her body, and caused damage to the very source of her life. Her body was far too thin and bony, and the fires of her life were like a dim candle flickering in the wind. If this continued, she didn't know how much longer she would be able to hang on. "Oh, you're still alive." A cynical voice sounded near her. The one who spoke was the Acacia faction's inner court disciple, Oyu Xiong. He was the one who had delivered the 7 profound command to Qin Xingxuan, and had also threatened her to come here with the life of her family on the line. "It's you, get out of my way." Qin Xingxuan bit her lips, her eyes frosty. Oyu Xiong's complexion was cold, but soon eased down. "Junior apprentice Sister Qin, how about you don't lose your temper so easily?" "Ah, let's talk about it if you're so angry then. How about you tell me where Lin Ming's parents are hiding, and then once I verify this, I'll let you return." "Dream on." Qin Xingxuan coldly humphed before turning around and walking away. Oyu Xiong's complexion completely sunk. "Humph. Qin Xingxuan, don't forget that your Qin family has already been placed under house arrest in Sky Fortune Kingdom. I hope you don't want anything to happen to your grandfather." Qin Xingxuan instantly stiffened. Her fists clenched until her nails dug into the meat of her palms and drew blood. "I don't know. Lin Ming's parents were not handled by me, nor have I seen them." Oyu Xiong's eyes turned. He thought that Qin Xingxuan's words rang true. After all, Lin Ming's parents were arranged somewhere else by Qin Zia, so Qin Xingxuan naturally wouldn't know. Qin Zia was nonetheless an elder, and also one of those fancy righteous characters. Although Ouyang Boyon had a very wide network of friends, it was unlikely that he would be able to deal with Qin Zia. "Good. I'll believe you for now. So give me your true essence stones. These days, I heard that you managed to obtain quite a few," Oyu Xiong said. He extended his hands towards Qin Xingxuan and rubbed his fingers together. The 7 profound valleys had ruled that whoever mined medium-grade true essence stones would be able to keep 60% of them. This was a very high reward that corresponded to the very high risk of being on this island. "Rest assured, I only want 60%. As for the other 40%, you can deliver them," Oyu Xiong said as he proudly smiled. Qin Xingxuan's lips trembled. Oh, how she wished she could chop this Oyu Xiong in half. Oyu Xiong also felt the bone-deep hatred that was emanating from Qin Xingxuan. He casually said, "Junior apprentice Sister Qin, you should know that Qin Zia is occupied with military orders and cannot leave his island even half a step. If he leaves though, that would be even better. Then Elder Ouyang would have an excuse to accuse him of a crime. In any case, who are you counting on to protect your Qin family? You are a 7 profound valleys disciple, so you are protected by the rules and regulations that govern us. However, your Qin family is not. Do not forget your grandfather. Trading some true essence stones for a few months of your grandfather's safety. What a valuable a trade that is. And you won't be living much longer, so leaving any true essence stones with you would be a waste." Ouyang Boyon had used secular means of the mortal world to deal with Qin Xingxuan. This was completely within the rules of the 7 profound valleys. In a normal kingdom, clearing out officials that were accused of fomenting a rebellion was a common matter. So, this left Qin Xingxuan in a basically helpless situation. With her grandfather in their hands, they also held on to Qin Xingxuan's weak point. In this world, Strength was everything. If one had enough strength, even the so-called rules of the 7 profound valleys were nothing but pieces of paper. Qin Xingxuan clenched her fists until her knuckles turned white and bit her lips until they bled. She tossed out the medium-grade true essence stones in her spatial ring. There was no longer any meaning for her to keep these. As Oyu Xiong received the bag of true essence stones, he squeezed his hand and then suddenly grinned. That's the way. Junior apprentice Sister Qin, good work. I'll come back in a few days to visit you again. In truth, you don't have to do this, you know. As long as you nod your head and be a good little girl, you can go take care of Elder Ouyang. If you do, I guarantee that you'll be all right. What do you want to suffer all this pain for? If you're not careful, you might fall here, or even be captured by some devil art martial artist who will use you to cultivate their yin energy. That feeling is truly to die for. Ha ha ha. Oyu Xiong greedily glanced at Qin Xingxuan's figure and then swaggered away as he laughed. Qin Xingxuan clenched her teeth, but she still couldn't stop the tears from running down her cheeks, her eyes dimming. Lin Ming, if you can hear me in the underworld, then please, bless me. I would come down to be with you, but I cannot let anything happen to my grandfather. In the endless sea, Qin Zia sat alone on the beach, his fingers drifting across his zither as the sea breeze washed over him. In this South Sea War, his duty was to guard this island as well as the inferior true essence stone vein that existed there. Qin Zia had to strictly follow the military orders. He couldn't even take one step off this island. Otherwise, he would be deposed by the sect rules. As Qin Zia heaved a deep sigh, he painfully smiled. What meaning was there to cultivation the martial path? What meaning was there to have talent that far exceeded anyone in the Sky Fortune Kingdom? In front of absolute strength, he was nothing but a drifting cloud. As he sighed with emotion, at this moment, a dazzling flame lit in front of Qin Zia. This was a super long-range sound-transmitting talisman. As soon as he heard the message from the sound-transmitting talisman, Qin Zia suddenly shook, all of the strings breaking under his fingers. Chapter 410 Destination, Blood Demon Island. Chapter 410 Destination, Blood Demon Island. Chapter 410, Destination, Blood Demon Island. The sea breeze swept past him, and the strings that were broken shivered. Qin Zia stood up on the beach, still like statue. This was Lin Ming's sound-transmitting talisman. Lin Ming hadn't died. Qin Zia was petrified for a long time. The contents of the sound-transmitting talisman were very simple. Lin Ming asked about his parents' situation and whether or not they had received news of his death, and whether anything had happened to them because of a broken heart. Then he left behind a new sound transmission mark and asked Qin Zia to wait for him on the island. Soon, he would fly over and meet him. Lin Ming was alive. Qin Zia took a few deep breaths to calm himself. Then, he took out a long-distance sound-transmitting talisman from his spatial ring that was used to report on military situations. He gave a simple and brief summary of the current situation and then with a shake of his hand, the talisman ignited. 10,000 miles away, a mass of flames appeared in front of Lin Ming but was instantly left behind by Fireshine's terrifying speed. The message briefly echoed in Lin Ming's ears. Lin Fu and Lin Mu are well, there is no need to worry about them. Yang Lin has been overthrown and Yang Zhan has ascended to the throne. Marshal Qin has been placed under house arrest, and Ouyang Boyan used the threat of the Qin family's lives to compel Qin Xingxuan into a certain death dead end on the open sea battlefield's Blood Demon Island. It has already been 1 month since then. My ability is weak, and because of a military command, I have been trapped on Star Coconut Island, and cannot leave this place to rescue her. After hearing this message, Lin Ming's complexion instantly paled. Ouyang Boyan! Lin Ming's heart burned with a raging anger. When he left the 7 profound valleys, he had also left behind this dangerous serpent. It wasn't that he didn't want to kill him, it was just that he didn't have the ability to. Ouyang Boyan represented the 7 profound valleys Acacia faction and the Ouyang family clan. The forces that supported him from behind were far too great, and his cultivation had already been at the peak of the early Xiantian realm for dozens of years. Against such a character, there simply wasn't anything he could do. Lin Ming had deliberately arranged for the safety of his parents and Lin Xiaodong, but he didn't expect that Ouyang Boyan would actually target Qin Xingxuan. Qin Xingxuan was a disciple of the Seven Profound Valleys. Without a reason, he couldn't visibly deal with her. But now, he had secretly trapped all the lives of the Qin family, and had held on to Qin Xingxuan's weakness. Damn! Lin Ming's fists tightened until loud popping sounds could be heard from them, and flashes of electricity sparked up from his hands. Even the flame mark on Lin Ming's forehead turned an angry red. First I will rescue Qin Xingxuan. Then, Ouyang Boyan, I will have you pay the deepest price for your actions. Lin Ming bent down and touched Fireshine's back, continuously injecting true essence into Fireshine's body. Fireshine, hurry, as fast as you can. Lin Ming was incomparably nervous. The South Sea region was a vast, endless land. Even with Fireshine's speed and transmission arrays, it would still take time to reach her. He didn't know whether or not a calamity would befall Qin Xingxuan during this time. Elder Qin, where are you going to? An Acacia faction disciple asked with a bright smile. This disciple was sent by Ouyang Boyan to monitor him, and his cultivation was at the Middle Hutian realm. Qin Zia looked at the hourglass in the corner, estimating his time. Without caring for the Middle Hutian Acacia faction disciple behind him, he walked into the operations room and picked up the sea map, wrapping it up. As he picked up the sea map, all the little flags that were on top fell onto the floor. The Acacia faction disciple's expression was immediately ugly. Qin Zia, what is the meaning of this? No meaning. I'm just going to go out for a few days. I'm borrowing this sea map, and then in a few days I'll return it. Qin Zia casually said. Qin Zia, are you planning to rebel? The Acacia faction disciple was angry, but as he thought about it, he sneered and said, Humph, this is also good. Since you are defying military orders, you are just digging your own grave. Don't blame me for what I'm going to do. I'll write down all your crimes and report you to the sect. When that happens, they'll impeach you. Millimeter, what's with that look? What are you thinking of doing? You want to kill any witnesses to your crime? The Acacia faction disciples derisively smiled. Although his cultivation was only at the Middle Hutian realm, he had the support of Ouyang Boyan. Not just that, but he was also part of the Acacia faction. He didn't necessarily need to fear the Zither faction's Qin Zia. Qin Zia looked at this man with pity. At this moment, a shrill phoenix cry sounded in the skies. The Acacia faction disciple jumped in shock and then rushed out. He saw flames and wind coming from all directions, as a massive vermilion bird landed outside of the command post. The phoenix extended its huge, fiery wings, covering the entire courtyard. As for who the vermilion bird was carrying on its back, it was actually a red-robed youth. His hair was disheveled and flew everywhere, and his eyes flashed with thunder. His appearance was outstanding, and his momentum was utterly threatening. Between his forehead was a flame mark that caused those who saw it to feel their heart palpitate with fear. The Acacia faction disciple was stunned. Just what was going on? As the Acacia faction disciple looked more closely at the red-robed youth, his eyes became increasingly dazed. Doesn't this person look like? The Acacia faction disciple's eyes met Lin Ming's, and he suddenly felt as if he had fallen into a massive black vortex. In just a few breaths of time, his mind shook as he turned white, and then spat out a massive amount of blood. Lin Ming hadn't intentionally hurt him. It was just that he had learned of Qin Xingxuan's situation, and his innermost murderous intent was overflowing everywhere, spilling out and covering the world. After almost an entire year of trials within the Divine Phoenix mystic realm, he had experienced an endless scene of slaughter, and his murderous intent had reached the degree where it could manifest in reality. Now this murderous intent could spill out depending on his mood. His vision was like a flash of thunder that could directly pierce through an ordinary martial artist's spiritual sea. This Acacia faction disciple's cultivation was at the Middle Hutian realm. But with just a single glance from Lin Ming, he had been injured by Lin Ming's killing intent. You are Lin Ming. The Acacia faction disciple's legs began to shake. Lin Ming frowned, and the black vortex in his eyes began to spin once again. Allow me. As Qin Zia spoke, He took out a long zither from his spatial ring and then played a few notes. The Acacia faction disciple's legs went soft, and he tumbled onto the ground. Qin Zia said, "He won't remember you. Now we won't alarm the 7 profound valleys." Lin Ming nodded. Now wasn't the time to make public the news that he was still living. Once this news spread, Ouyang Boyon would be able to prepare in advance. Maybe, when that happened, Ouyang Boyon might even run away. "Let's go." Qin Zia jumped onto Fireshine's back, and Fireshine spread its great wings, soaring into the sky. Martial House Master Qin, what is Xingxuan's sound transmission mark? As the strong winds blew against Lin Ming's hair, his eyes were frosty and determined. Qin Zia sighed. After Qin Xingxuan went Blood Demon Island, her sound transmission mark was cancelled. Now, I cannot reach her. If Ouyang Boyon wanted to deal with Qin Xingxuan, then he naturally had to shut off all ways for her to contact Qin Zia. Lin Ming's mind sank, and his killing intent thickened by several degrees. Without the sound transmission mark, then how will I find Xingxuan on the vast Blood Demon Island? I already expected that she would be pushed into a dead end. So I had her separate a sliver of her soul and sealed it into a jade slip to create a soul jade slip. I had wanted to use this to know whether or not she was still living, but this soul jade slip can also be used to determine her position by sensing it. Qin Zia took out Qin Xingxuan's soul jade slip. Lin Ming looked at it and then felt his heart tighten. A soul jade slip's soul sliver was connected to the main soul. It could be used to determine the current situation of its owner. Lin Ming could feel that Qin Xingxuan's life was like a flickering candle in the wind. This was an extremely bad situation. Qin Zia sighed. Blood Demon Island has an incomparably rich blood demon energy. Even without considering how much she has probably been fighting, but even if she didn't, that blood demon energy would still slowly corrode her, causing her life to continuously weaken. A Hutian martial artist would be relatively fine, but Xingxuan is only at the early pulse condensation period. Lin Ming didn't speak, he only remained silent. The strong gales howled in his ears, but the air around Lin Ming seemed to completely stop without a single trace of airflow. This was result of the amount of killing intent that he was emitting, which almost formed a domain around him. The thickness of this killing aura was even enough to make Qin Zia feel suppressed. Qin Zia gasped. A while ago, he had been in a hurry and hadn't carefully probed Lin Ming's situation. But now that he looked, he only felt a simmering fear and cautiousness. This youth was like a raging demon god. If God blocked him, then he would kill God. If Buddha blocked him, then he would kill Buddha. He couldn't imagine that the one standing beside him was a late Hutian realm martial artist. Just what had Lin Ming experienced in this past year? The atmosphere was tense for a very long time. Qin Zia thought of something to say, and then hesitated before saying, about the Qin family and Lin family's situation. I wrote a letter to Her Highness Mu Qianyu, and even sent 2, but there was no response from her. Lin Ming frowned. He didn't doubt Mu Qianyu's character. If she knew that this was happening, then she wouldn't idly stand by. In fact, Mu Qianyu didn't know of the grudge he had with Ouyang Boyon. Not just that, but currently Divine Phoenix Island was embroiled in a war. After confirming that he had died, she would most likely send some gifts to Green Mulberry City's Lin family, but would never have thought that someone would try to deal with his friends and family. However, Qin Zia had written a letter. So where did that letter go? Lin Ming's voice sank as he said, Martial House Master Qin, I understand Mu Qianyu's nature very well. She owes me a favor, so she would never do something like this. Your letter disappearing and coming to nothing would absolutely not be her intention. I will investigate this matter. Lin Ming's voice was somewhat cold. He knew that ever since he appeared in Divine Phoenix Island, not everyone appreciated his presence. There were many people that were intensely jealous of him. Not just that, but he had taken their resources, and even the vial of vermilion bird blood essence. He had no idea how many people were madly resentful of him. This time, because of what had happened, Lin Ming had learnt a crucial lesson. Against all his enemies, he must be ruthless. Lin Ming, 6,000 miles up ahead is a new transmission array that is set up by the 5-element region's Thundercrest sect that can directly send us to Blood Demon Island. If we go from there, We can arrive at Blood Demon Island in just a few hours, and save an entire 2 days. The South Sea was incomparably vast. During this Great War, every sect had to find ways to easily transport themselves, thus there were many temporary transmission arrays that had been set up. The reason Qin Zia had taken the sea map a while ago was to determine the positions of every transmission array and plan the quickest route. I got it. Lin Ming poured true essence into Fireshine's body, speeding up Fireshine. At this moment, in his heart, his killing intent had risen to a monstrous level. 6,000 miles passed before too long. With Fireshine's full speed, it took a mere 2 hours to reach there. In Lin Ming's field of vision, an island appeared just as stated on the sea chart. Chapter 4:11 Demon God. Chapter 4:11 Demon God. Chapter 4:11 Demon God. At the transmission array on the island, there were 7 or 8 youths, men and women, sitting in a circle. Senior apprentice Brother Zhong, what a great harvest. Ha, over 600 medium-grade true essence stones, and also a blood demon crystal. That blood demon crystal is a great treasure. Around a unibrow man there were several 20-something-year-old youths looking at a small wooden crate in front of the unibrow man, their faces full of envy. This small wooden crate was packed to the brim with medium-grade true essence stones. And on top of the true essence's stones, there was a finger-sized gem the color of blood. This gem was the blood demon crystal. This blood demon crystal was the core that an almost 1,000-year-old blood demon had condensed. It was extremely beneficial to Xiantian masters. The unibrow man was very satisfied with himself. This harvest was truly great. He said, to be honest, much of this is thanks to this temporary transmission array. Otherwise, it's impossible for me to have such a high efficiency rate. If I didn't have this transmission array and also a golden-winged heavenly wind eagle to ride, then going back and forth would be a 10-day round trip. Around Blood Demon Island, the sects of the 5-element region had laid down their own respective transmission arrays. This sort of long-distance transmission array cost a fairly great price to construct, and also had a limited lifetime of use. Every sect cherished their own long-distance transmission array and constructed one themselves. But this sort of construction was expensive, thus the disciples that came from Blood Demon Island had to take out parts of their own harvest as the price to activate it. The Thundercrest sect and the 7 Profound Valleys were different. The disciples of the 7 Profound Valleys had relatively low strength, and when they came to Blood Demon Island it was nearly certain death. But, disciples of the Thundercrest sect had a much high chance of survival. Although their probabilities of dying were still high, their harvest was also correspondingly enormous. To the common disciples of the Thundercrest sect, medium-grade true essence stones were very rare and valuable. Thus, there were some desperate disciples that pursued treasures and came to Blood Demon Island at their own risk. These people present were basically all in this situation. Senior apprentice Brother Zhong, I think that before you are 30 years old you'll be able to step into the extreme Xiantian realm. Your cultivation speed isn't much worse than that Lin Ming from a year ago. A flattering youth nonsensically said. Haha. Although this was clearly irrelevant drivel, the unibrow man still enjoyed this. He seemed to suddenly realize something, and then traced his mustache and shook his head, saying, although Lin Ming was a genius, he still died. No matter how great he was, or how heaven-defying he was, a genius that falls from the sky is no longer a genius. During revered Master Tianguang's birthday banquet, this unibrow man had personally witnessed Lin Ming's performance. He was an accompanying Xiantian disciple and had been sitting in the banquet's corner. Come on, you can each take 4 or 5 of these medium-grade true essence stones. Consider it your reward. Thank you, Senior Apprentice Brother Zhong. These disciples were overjoyed and each took 5 medium-grade true essence stones. These young disciples were all in their 20s and most had a cultivation at the Hutian realm. There were some that were still at the pulse condensation period. To them, these 5 medium-grade true essence stones were enough to last them for half a month. The unibrow man enjoyed being the center of attention. In the Thundercrest sect, an inner court disciple like himself simply had no presence at all in front of a core disciple or direct disciple. But, to these weaker inner court disciples, or even outer court disciples, He was their absolute big brother. Much less, these people's cultivations were all lower than his. At this moment, he suddenly saw a red dot rapidly approaching from the distant skies. Millimeter? Who is it? The unibrow man stood up, and the other disciples did the same. During a time of war, they naturally had to be vigilant of any sudden surprises. Vermilion bird. The unibrow man was shocked. It's someone from Divine Phoenix Island. Bang! The 100-foot wingspan fire shine landed on the ground, and a massive cloud of dust and mist erupted into the air. There were even some pulse condensation period disciples that were blown back several steps before steadying themselves. Damn! The unibrow man was furious. These fellows simply didn't know the rules. This was their Thundercrest sect's domain. His vision swept past Chinzia, who was atop fire shine, and the unibrow man frowned. The other party had dropped down so roughly and rudely. Obviously they had ill intentions. Who are you? The unibrow man called out. Although his cultivation and Chinzia's were about the same, he wasn't afraid. Not too far behind him was the Thundercrest sect station, and there were also several Xiantian masters that had been garrisoned there. I would like to borrow your transmission array. Lin Ming stepped forwards, and with a single step, his momentum erupted. His eyes were like a bolt of thunder that instantly locked onto the unibrow man. With these two eyes locked on him, the unibrow man felt as if a saber had pierced through his heart. A cold chill swept up his back. This person is. The unibrow man saw Lin Ming's face, and he froze on the spot, his expression distorted. For a time, he was in utter disbelief and his face switched through various expressions. He hadn't died. How was he alive? Was his death only a smoke screen that Divine Phoenix Island released? There was a dream he could never forget. Almost 1 year ago during the banquet competition, this youth had battled Lei Mubai, another youth who was like a reincarnated demon god. Yet, that Lei Mubai was defeated under Lin Ming's spear. It had to be known that Lei Mubai was in truth the saint son of the South Sea demon region. That was the saint son of a true 5th grade sec. And yet, Lin Ming had jumped realms in order to eliminate him. Not just that, but Lin Ming had also swept the ground with the Deep Earth sect's elder Shizhongkuan as well as the Thundercrest sect sovereign. After whatever plans they had were ruined, Lei Mubai had suffered a miserable fate. This was definitely a man who could not be cross. And what was most terrifying was that Lin Ming's cultivation at the time was only at the late pulse condensation period. Now, he had actually reached the late Hutian realm. Heavens! What had happened this past year? In less than a year he was able to jump an entire realm. Lin Ming had already been such a terrifying monster when he was at the late pulse condensation period. At that time, his strength was comparable to a Xiantian master. But now that he had reached the late Hutian realm, just what kind of abnormal existence was he? The unibrow man fell listless as he thought this, but the disciples behind him didn't notice the change in the unibrow man. They only heard two people wishing to borrow the transmission array, and then began to laugh in anger. Did I hear it correctly? They want to borrow the transmission array? A disciple carelessly said, his words full of derision. What an idiot. This transmission array is for our sect's use. If an outside wants to borrow it, then no way. Those two are mentally ill. They come down so aggressively and cover this father's face with dirt, and yet want to borrow the transmission array. Just who the hell do they think they are? Lin Ming's complexion sunk. At this moment, his heart was overflowing with murderous intent. He was like a powder keg that could explode at any moment. With just the slightest provocation or accident, he would erupt. I will repeat myself one last time. Let me borrow the transmission array. Lin Ming's voice began to turn frosty. The unibrow man who bore the brunt of this began to sweat all over. I am speechless. To think I met a crazy. Shut up. As a disciple was speaking, the unibrow man fiercely cut him off midway. Shut up and open the transmission array. The disciple was stunned for a moment. Senior apprentice Brother Zhong. Why? Hurry up. The unibrow man's forehead was already dripping with sweat. He had seen with his own eyes just how terrifying this Lin Ming truly was. At that time, he was at the pulse condensation period and was so horrifying. The unibrow man simply couldn't imagine what Lin Ming's current strength was after he reached the late Hutian realm. Just by being locked down by Lin Ming's aura, he felt as if a serpent was poised to strike at him. The disciples around the unibrow man were confused. Just what was boss doing? How were these people scary? One was at the early Xiantian realm and the other was at the late Hutian realm. Although that late Hutian fellow had a pretty intense momentum, there were 4 or 5 Xiantian masters not too far away behind them. Any one of them could turn this fellow into mush. The unibrow man saw a disciple extremely reluctant in placing a true essence stone on the transmission array. A fire lit in him, and he suddenly walked over and kicked him away. Mother****, have you not eaten enough? Stop being so greedy. The unibrow man kicked away the hapless disciple, grabbed his true essence stone and personally placed it down. When he had faced Lin Ming's murderous intent alone, he felt that he could have died at any moment. This man was simply a demonic villain. Under the lockdown of such a murderous intent, the unibrow man was extremely afraid that if he didn't hurry up, Lin Ming would instantly kill him in the next moment. You seem to know me. The unibrow man stiffened. Lin Ming's true essence sound transmission had reached his ear. I know. I was also present at the banquet competition. I hope that you won't spread any news of me being alive. Otherwise, I will take your life. Yes. I swear, I will never speak of this. The unibrow man quickly made a pledge. Normally, it was an unimaginable matter that a late Hutian martial artist would threaten an early Xiantian martial artist, not to mention that the unibrow man was a disciple of the Thundercrest sect. But the unibrow man didn't doubt that as long as Lin Ming was given more time to grow, he might even be able to kill his way through the Thundercrest sect. The transmission array was finally activated. Lin Ming inspected it for a moment. After he determined there wasn't a problem, he stepped on with Qin Zia and Fire Shine. As a curtain of light was enveloping him, Lin Ming sent out a true essence sound transmission. Today I, Lin Ming, have to rush to Blood Demon Island. I owe you a favor. Then, Lin Ming's figure vanished. The unibrow man waited for Lin Ming to completely disappear before he let out a long sigh of relief, wiping away all the sweat on his forehead. Thank the heavens, this scary demon god had finally left. The unibrow man had a very strong suspicion that even if all the Xiantian masters that were stationed here joined together, they might not necessarily be Lin Ming's match. Senior apprentice Brother Zhong, who was that? Why did you allow him to use the transmission array? Just using this transmission array once takes a large amount of resources. Even we are reluctant to use it whenever we need to. These Hutian and pulse condensation disciples found this unbearable, so they all opened their big mouths and repeatedly asked. The unibrow man was speechless. He simply couldn't say anything about Lin Ming's identity. He clenched his teeth and bit out, that person was my relative. Even he couldn't believe this ridiculous lie. Obviously, these low-level disciples wouldn't be tricked either. Relative? A relative caused you to break out in a cold sweat. Facing the doubts of these disciples and even some contempt, the unibrow man felt extremely wronged. F***ck. These fellows simply knew nothing. He should have let these idiots suffer a moment ago and let them personally find out just what sort of calamity he had let pass them. As he felt that the Big Brother image had set up had already collapsed, the unibrow man was disinclined to explain any further. He simply coldly snorted and said, "Cut the nonsense, if you have so much time to speak, then go practice. No one will speak of what happened today or I will take back your true essence stones." Chapter 412 The Sound of Broken Jade. Chapter 412 The Sound of Broken Jade. Chapter 412 The Sound of Broken Jade. On Blood Demon Island, within the 1,000 miles of the island, the entire land was covered with a hazy, thick blood-red fog all year round. This fog had magical properties. If it touched a wound, it would be like a leech that dug into a person's body, corroding their blood essence. Thus, if someone were to be seriously injured on Blood Demon Island, they would quickly die if they didn't receive prompt treatment. At this time, the sun was high in the sky. On Blood Demon Island's Thundercrest sect transmission array, there was deafening thunderclap. A blaze of flames scattered out, sending several Hutian disciples that had been defending the location flying away by the forceful and intense winds. Fire shine spread its massive 100 feet long wings and shot into the sky. What is happening? A disciple flew in, his eyes filled with complete disbelief as he watched the giant vermilion bird shoot up into the sky. What was going on? How could a vermilion bird have come out of their transmission array? Fire shine was far too fast. In the blink of an eye, it had already turned into a dot in the horizon. The group of stunned Thundercrest sect disciples were left puzzled, entirely unsure of what was happening. There's a response from the jade slip. Qin Zia looked at the soul jade slip in his hand. The sliver of soul inside was dimming even further. It's most likely in that position. Qin Zia pointed. The soul jade slip could only make out a vague direction when it came to long distances. Give me the jade slip. Lin Ming received the soul jade slip, controlling which direction Fire Shine was flying. Blood Demon Island had a 1,000-mile diameter. If the jade slip could accurately indicate which direction she was in, he could quickly find Qin Xingxuan. At this moment, Lin Ming's mind began to shake. He slowly lowered his head to look at the jade slip in his hand, and heard a ka sound emit from it. This light ka was as if the jade slip was under a tremendous pressure and was about to shatter at any moment. Lin Ming's complexion completely changed, and his heart stopped beating for a moment. As he held the jade slip in both hands, even his fingers began to tremble. If this soul jade slip broke, that was proof that Qin Xingxuan had died. The jade slip slowly shook for several breaths of time, and then finally stopped. The gentle glow of the soul sliver within the jade slip had completely vanished. Qin Zia's face was full of lament. Qin Xingxuan is still alive. It's just Xingxuan now. Qin Zia didn't continue speaking. A soul jade slip was connected to a martial artist's soul. Even if they were physically injured, had their limbs broken or even arms cut off, the soul jade slip would not emit sounds that it was breaking. The only reason was if the soul of the martial artist themselves was on the verge of collapsing, or if their blood essence was seriously damaged. Whatever the situation was, both of these were extremely bad results. It could be said that Qin Xingxuan's life was no different from a dying candle in a stormy ocean. It could disappear at any moment. Lin Ming's eyes flashed with a killing light filled with carnage. He silently placed the soul jade slip into his chest pocket, letting it touch his skin. He swore to himself, Ouyang Boyon, if Xingxuan dies, I will bury your entire 7 Profound Valleys Ouyang family clan as tribute. Suddenly, the murderous intent of Lin Ming's body erupted like a cataclysmic volcano. Even Qin Zia, who had a cultivation at the early Xiantian realm, felt suffocated by this killing intent, like he could drown at any time within a sea of blood. Qin Zia thought that in the moment that Lin Ming had witnessed the dimming of the soul jade slip, it was like he had turned into a demon of war. The vermilion bird let out a deafening cry. Flames appeared all around it, forming a swirling storm of fire. All of the blood demons around were forced to run away by this momentum that seemed to pierce the heavens, and none of them dared to approach. There were even some slower blood demons that couldn't run away in time, and they were rapidly engulfed in these burning flames and incinerated to ashes. At this time, in a corner of Blood Demon Island, 6 martial artists were being besieged by dozens of blood demons within a clearing in the mountains. Blood demons. The more people died, the more blood essence they could suck, and the more powerful they would become. At the start of the war, both sides would fight each other on Blood Demon Island. Occasionally, they would also fight blood demons. But as more and more people died, at this point, often both sides would be slaughtering blood demons. This sort of situation could not presently be resolved. They could only wait until the end of the war, and the side that won in the end would organize a party of masters to completely clear out the blood demons. The blood demons were only 4 to 5 feet high. They looked like humans, but they were like beasts that crawled on the ground with 4 limbs. Their facial features were blurred, and mostly only a big mouth and dark glowing green eyes were left behind, like a wolf stalking at night. Blood demons were like sharks. They were able to sense the smell of blood. They had surrounded these 6 martial artists and were ready to pounce at any given moment. However, every time a blood demon rushed over, they would bounce off a clear, shining barrier. Any part of their body that touched this barrier of light would be instantly charred. Senior apprentice brother OU, if this continues we won't be able to last much longer. These 6 individuals were disciples of the 7 profound valleys. The one that spoke was from the array faction. This great array had been laid down by him in advance. Although array faction disciples had poor combat strength, if they were able to lay down their arrays in advance, they could play a huge role in positional battles. This senior apprentice brother OU was OU Xiong. The reason he had come to Blood Demon Island was to monitor Qin Xingxuan, and also to trap her. Since it was convenient, he would also take away all the medium-grade true essence stones that Qin Xingxuan had obtained. As for mining for medium-grade true essence stones on Blood Demon Island and killing his way through blood demons to do so, OU Xiong had never thought of this. To him, it was not worth the risk. He hadn't lived long enough. As a disciple of the Acacia faction, OU Xiong had 7 or 8 concubines, and also more than a dozen pleasure maids. How could OU Xiong ever give up such a wonderful arrangement? However, when OU Xiong saw that the disciples of the 5-element region had obtained a demon blood crystal, he couldn't help but feel his heart stir with greed. Blood demon crystal. This was a very useful treasure to a Xiantian realm martial artist. If he could obtain a blood demon crystal, he would be able to exchange it for a minimum of 2 or 3 heaven opening pills with the sec. With OU Xiong's talent, it was unlikely he would be able to break through to the Xiantian realm. The only chance he had would be if he swallowed down 3 or 4 heaven opening pills. Only then would he have a chance of stepping into the Xiantian realm. However, OU Xiong's last name was OU, not Ouyang. Who would give him 3 or 4 heaven opening pills? OU Xiong had already lost all hope of entering the Xiantian realm, but now, this opportunity had appeared in front of him. How could he not be tempted by this? Within the 7 profound valleys, a Xiantian master was an elder. The treatment that an elder received was beyond that of a normal disciple. All those proud and arrogant women that had looked down on him with disdain, if he were an elder, he could recklessly push them all down to serve his crotch. Thinking of this, OU Xiong became incomparably excited. Not just that, but a Xiantian realm martial artist removed the foul Hutian air from their bodies, and their life was 100 years longer than a Hutian real martial artist. If he had an extra 100 years of life, he could enjoy blissful days for another 100 years, and play with beautiful women for another 100 years. Thus OU Xiong had decided to take a risk, and enter Blood Demon Island with this 7 profound valleys squad. Within this squad, besides OU Xiong, there were also 2 Acacia faction disciples, 1 Array faction disciple, a Zither faction disciple, and finally Qin Xingxuan. Qin Xingxuan was in an extremely bad situation. Her lips and face had already lost all traces of color. This was the result of accumulated loss of blood essence over time. Not just that, but this time, she had been sneak attacked by a blood demon and had been bitten on the right arm, having a massive amount of blood essence sucked out of her. Once a martial artist lost their blood essence, it was extremely difficult to recover. When a martial artist lost blood essence, that also meant a loss of strength and life. On Qin Xingxuan's right arm, her sleeve had been completely ripped off, revealing an open wound that dripped with blood. This wound caused her life to continuously pour out of her. The blood essence within her body was being continuously corroded. With her present ability, there was no way she could prevent this from happening. Qin Xingxuan mirthlessly smiled. Perhaps today, here, she would finally fall. Even if she managed to return by a stroke of luck, she would not last another month. She had lost a massive amount of blood essence, and the source of her life was like a lamp that had run nearly completely dry. Senior apprentice brother OU, the array formation will not last much longer. At most it can continue for another half an incense stick of time. We have to break through the encirclement afterward. The array faction disciple said. Of everyone present, besides OU Xiong who was at the middle Hutian realm, everyone's cultivation was either at the peak pulse condensation period or even half-step Hutian realm. Only Qin Xingxuan was at the early pulse condensation period. Her cultivation was the lowest, and her situation was also the worst. Breakthrough, OU Xiong grit his teeth. Outside of the array formation, there were dozens of blood demons waiting to attack. There were even 2 higher-level blood demons that weren't much weaker than him. To break through this trap wouldn't be easy at all. Blood demons are fast. If we have to break through, we have to have some people protect the rear and stop them from following. As Oyu Xiong spoke, his eyes swept past everyone and fell on Qin Xingxuan. Qin Xingxuan's eyes were chilling. But the one who actually became angry for Qin Xingxuan was the Zither faction girl. Oyu Xiong, what are you trying to say? Junior apprentice Sister Qin is already severely injured. You want her to bring up the rear? Are you still human? Oyu Xiong callously shook his head, saying, she cannot escape from here, her blood vitality is too weak. Whether or not she guards the rear, she will die. So if she is going to die, then why not make a sacrifice for the sect? You. The Zither faction girl's eyes shot open. You are shameless. Sacrifice for the sect. Maybe the one who should be sacrificed for the sect is you. Oyu Xiong coldly sneered, since that is what you think, then you can go ahead and stay with her. Do as you wish. Oyu Xiong, you cruelly harm a fellow disciple and have violated the rules of the sect. Once I return to the 7 profound valleys, I will report this to the elders and have them punish you for your crimes. After Oyu Xiong heard these words, he frowned and his eyes flashed with killing intent. Violate the rules of the sect. Have I killed you? Have I harmed you? I have not. Do you not want to break through? Dream on. Qin Yao, since you say so, then do not follow me when I break through this encirclement. You can stay with Qin Xingxuan. The Zither faction girl shook with rage. She turned to look at the other disciples but found that they were avoiding her eyes. In a life-or-death situation, they would first think of themselves. Who would still bother to care for the fate of others? Of everyone present, the one with the highest cultivation was Oyu Xiong. With Oyu Xiong, they had a slim hope for survival. Without him, they would undoubtedly die. Oyu Xiong looked at Qin Xingxuan and sent her a true essence sound transmission. I really feel sorry for you. You are beautiful and talented, just don't take this personally. You've lost your blood essence. Even if you can escape from here, you won't last another month. And for you, escape is simply not possible. So, I have a pill here for you. This is a blood-burning pill. It can stimulate all the potential in your body. Once you eat it and you guard the rear, I can guarantee that your Qin family will be safe. You should know that Elder Ouyang wants to deal with you and the Lin family, he simply doesn't care for the Qin family. As Oyu Xiong spoke, he handed Qin Xingxuan a blood-red pill. As the Zither faction girl saw Oyu Xiong give this pill to Qin Xingxuan, her complexion immediately hung. Blood-burning pill. Junior apprentice Sister Qin, do not take it, this is simply a suicidal pill. Oyu Xiong glanced at the Zither faction girl and sneered. He continued to speak through a true essence sound transmission. Junior apprentice Sister Qin, I am willing to take an oath on my heart of martial arts. As long as you can bring up the rear when we break out, I will guarantee the safety of your family. Although my promise is not too valuable, it is still an oath that I make. I won't damage my heart of martial arts just for the lives of a few mortals. Much less, I have no enmity with your Qin family. Chapter 413 An Eternal Instant. Chapter 413 An Eternal Instant. Chapter 413 An Eternal Instant. In the skies above Blood Demon Island, Lin Ming stood atop Fireshine's back. He had the Soul Jade Slip in one hand, and the Purple Comet Spear in the other. He stood upright atop the vermilion bird, his long hair scattered in the wind, his murderous intent wantonly overflowing. Underneath Lin Ming, Fireshine seemed to sense his killing intent. Fireshine gave keening cry, and all the red fog around was burnt to nothingness by flames. According to the signal from the Soul Jade Slip, he was already very close to Qin Xingxuan. But the Soul Jade Slip could only sense a vague location within a few dozen miles around. Lin Ming still needed to find her himself. At this time, Lin Ming had extended his sense to the limit, carefully investigating the area around him. Millimeter. A blood demon's corpse. In a mountain valley below, there were several pools of wretched-looking blood. These were left behind after a blood demon died and melted away. But judging by the looks of these blood pools, They had been recently killed. There had been a battle here. Lin Ming let Fireshine slow down. He stood on Fireshine's back, closing out all 6 senses of his body and entering the ethereal martial intent state. Now, there was only his perception left behind. It was like the ripples of a lake that were spreading out in all directions. That thick blood fog was pierced through by his perception. Currently, almost all that Lin Ming saw in his mind's eye was a world of red. He felt the lurking blood demons that were hiding in the blood fog, waiting to ambush someone, and he also felt the bones buried within the dark red soil. Millimeter. This is a battle. There are people fighting. Lin Ming's eyes shot open, and thunder flashed in his pupils. He felt that in the distance, a group of martial artists were in a desperate life or death struggle with blood demons. Fireshine, go. Fireshine gave a shrill cry and spread its wings. The surrounding red fog was twisted into a giant vortex with the gale wings. 1 or 2, 3, 5 in total. Lin Ming's perception of the world was becoming increasingly clear. There were a total of 5 people that were fighting dozens of blood demons. And of these 5 individuals, besides the strongest of them, the rest were in a tragic state. No. I'm wrong, there's not just 5, there are 6 people. But one is already on the verge of death. Their true essence fluctuation is too weak, I almost didn't feel it. As Lin Ming sensed the existence of this 6th person, he felt an inexplicable sense of grief and loss. It was like someone had stabbed a sword into his heart and twisted it. Xingxuan, is that you? Lin Ming bit his lips until the skin broke and he bled. With Fireshine's speed, the time it would take to fly this distance was only several breaths of time. But to Lin Ming, this time seemed to be over 100 years long. At this moment, when that group that contained 6 lives, one of the fires of life was suddenly extinguished. Now there were only 5 left. In a short instant, someone had died. Lin Ming's breath caught in his chest. He trembled as he looked down, and saw that the soul jade slip hadn't broken. It wasn't Qin Xingxuan. Xingxuan was still alive. As this thought just flashed in Lin Ming's mind, he suddenly heard the horrifying ka sound emit from the jade slip. The soul jade slip shook, and seemed as if something heavy were crushing it. On the very top of the jade slip, a thin, small crack appeared. In that instant, Lin Ming only felt as if his own heart had been ripped out. His eyes filled with blood, and his eyes caught on the soul jade slip. That small crack finally stopped spreading. Qin Zia's face filled with utter sadness. It's breaking, although it hasn't split yet, but... They were a step too late. Once a jade slip cracked even a bit, that proved that Qin Xingxuan's life had received a massive amount of damage, a point of no return. At most, she would only be able to survive for 10 more days. Lin Ming didn't even speak a single word, remaining silent. Because of Lin Ming's silence, the surrounding atmosphere became oppressive, like they were in a pool of viscous blood. This invisible pressure even frightened Qin Zia, causing him to feel a tinge of fear. He wanted to speak, but found that there was nothing to say. Junior apprentice Sister Qin. With a clear cry, Qin Yarrow slammed down on her zither, producing a series of notes that exploded behind Qin Xingxuan, throwing away the blood demon that had attached itself to her back, destroying it. However, as that blood demon was destroyed, it had already sucked away the last wisp of Qin Xingxuan's blood essence. She had eaten the blood-burning pill, but the truth was that Qin Xingxuan had long ago run out of blood essence. At this time, from head to toe, there was not a single hint of color on Qin Xingxuan. Her clothes were torn, her lips shivered, and she was just like a dying person who was thrown into an icy storm, freezing to death. She could have sliced apart the blood demon that had attacked her, but Qin Xingxuan actually didn't have any strength left to lift a sword. Senior apprentice Sister Qin Yao, leave me. Qin Xingxuan's eyes were full of tears. She didn't want to drag her friend Qin Yarrow down with her. Half a year ago, Qin Xingxuan had met Qin Yarrow when she was at the 7 Profound Valleys. The two of them had a very good friendship. Qin Yarrow was older than her by 4 years. Her talent was mediocre, but she still wanted to try and reach the Xiantian realm. Thus, she had risked danger to come to Blood Demon Island. During this month on Blood Demon Island, Qin Yarrow was like a big sister who constantly looked over Qin Xingxuan's well-being. Through their adversities, they had become closer. If it wasn't for Qin Yarrow, Qin Xingxuan would have long since died. During the month she had been on Blood Demon Island, Qin Xingxuan was confused. She had no idea what she was fighting day and night for. Lin Ming had died. Her Qin family was under the control of others. And under the suppression of the giant force known as the Seven Profound Martial House, even her master Mr. Mui was unable to do anything, along with her grandfather. Now, all that she could do was wait for the newly crowned emperor to fabricate a false charge against her Qin family, and the heads of all her family members would roll onto the ground. She didn't want to yield. So, she persisted, she fought, she revolted as far as she could. She wasn't ready to resign herself to such a tragic destiny. But she thought that even if she persevered and continued to live longer, so what? She simply could not resist the existence known as Ouyang Boyon. She wasn't willing to die like this. But everything she did only added to the fun that Ouyang Boyon had, watching her suffer in pain, confusion, helplessness, despair. In her fragile mind, the endless blood demons around her coalesced into a massive ancient monster, as if it was ready to swallow her soul. Junior apprentice Sister Qin, over here. Qin Yarrow played several dozen notes, blocking the 5 or 6 blood demons that rushed at Qin Xingxuan. But Qin Xingxuan's true essence was exhausted, and she had no blood essence left. She simply couldn't activate any movement technique to escape. In that brief moment, Qin Yarrow and Qin Xingxuan were surrounded by blood demons. The two of them had been completely cut off from Oyu Xiong and his group. Oyu Xiong turned to look at them, the corners of his lips curving up in a demonic smile. Zither faction, sword faction, all they can produce are righteous idiots like this. Qin Yarrow knows perfectly well that she'll die if she stays, and yet she still won't leave. Well then, she can be buried here with Qin Xingxuan. This is also good, the two of them are enough for the blood demons to eat. As for Oyu Xiong's 2 Acacia faction junior apprentice brothers, as they saw Qin Xingxuan and Qin Yarrow being surrounded by the mob of blood demons, their faces were full of regret. They didn't regret Qin Yarrow and Qin Xingxuan's deaths, but rather that these delicious and drool-worthy beauties would be spoiled by the blood demons before they had the chance to sample them. The 3 of them began to kill their way out of the encirclement. As for that Array faction disciple, he had already been sucked dry by blood demons a moment ago. The Array faction disciple had the weakest combat strength. When he had been surrounded by blood demons, he had called out for help. But Oyu Xiong and his 2 junior apprentice brothers naturally didn't bother to save him, lest they be dragged down and suffer the same miserable fate as him. Millimeter? What's that? As Oyu Xiong chopped a blood demon into pieces, he suddenly looked up and saw that a mass of flames was rapidly approached them at an amazing speed. Vermilion. Vermilion bird. It's someone from Divine Phoenix Island. Oyu Xiong was immediately overjoyed. They were saved. Even Oyu Xiong didn't have absolute confidence that he would be able to break out of this tight encirclement. After all, there were still 2 high-level blood demons that weren't much weaker than he was. Here. Over here. Oyu Xiong began to wildly shout, fearing that this person wouldn't see or hear them. He promised to himself that after he escaped from here alive, he would never come back to Blood Demon Island. He would hug his 7 or 8 concubines to sleep, to hell with the Xiantian realm. Oyu Xiong waved his sword, signaling to the vermilion bird. The vermilion bird was really flying in his direction, but it wasn't slowing down. As he saw the vermilion bird expanding in his eyes with terrifying speed, Oyu Xiong was petrified. A figure leapt down from the vermilion bird. Bang! An inferno of flames gushed out like a wave. Lin Ming's spear swept out. Over 20 blood demons were directly turned to nothing but ash. Even the 2 high-level blood demons that were equal to a Hutian realm martial artist were instantly killed. Oyu Xiong and his 2 junior apprentice brothers were sent flying backwards. They landed flat on the ground, dazed like dead dogs. Oyu Xiong's eyes were wide, he couldn't believe what was happening. It was a spear. Only a spear. And yet 2 high-level blood demons and over 20 blood demons were instantly killed. Just who was this? As the terrifying explosive shock wave swept over them, Qin Yarrow was frightened. However, She was surrounded by blood demons and didn't know what had happened. She had paused, but in that moment of delay, a blood demon leapt towards her, and 2 other blood demons also leapt towards Qin Xingxuan. Qin Yarrow grit her teeth, and the zither in her hands burst with notes. But she had consumed too much true essence. Although these notes exploded from her zither, she was unable to fend off 3 blood demons. Junior apprentice Sister Qin, be careful, Qin Yarrow loudly shouted. Lin Ming's eyes were like electricity. He was able to clearly determine the situation from 200 feet away. But in this instant, these 200 feet seemed like an eternity. 200 feet distance, but only an instant in time. Lin Ming's eyes emitted a savage and utterly brutal light. The power of tempering marrow burst out from within his bones. Heretical god force, open. Every strength he had was unleashed to the limit. Die. Bang. The rocks under Lin Ming's feet suddenly blew up, the shattered stones flying dozens of feet into the air. Lin Ming shot forwards like a bolt of lightning. With the purple comet spear in hand, he was like an avatar of thunder. Who? Lin Ming's skeleton issued out crackling sounds through his entire body. A glorious dragon roar emerged from his depths, shooting straight into the sky. Divine Demon Thunder Soul. The purple flood dragon Divine Thunder was the ultimate suppressive power against demons and ghosts. But the blood-extinguishing Demon Thunder was just the opposite. It could instead absorb their power. Regardless of which one it was, both of them were the absolute nemesis of blood demons. Within Lin Ming's body, the heretical god seed began to howl in elation. Lin Ming's figure was completely enveloped by the phantom of an azure dragon. The divine demon Thunder Soul fused into the purple comet spear. The power of thunder flared out. The terrifying purple and red dual-colored lightning formed a vast net of electricity that came crashing down. Bang! All of the blood demons that surrounded Qin Xingxuan and Qin Yarrow were instantly and completely exterminated. When a normal martial artist killed a blood demon, the blood demon would become a puddle of blood on the ground. But when Lin Ming Hand instantly killed them, the blood demons had actually turned to ash, without a single drop of blood remaining. Qin Yarrow was utterly stunned. She watched helplessly as the horde of blood demons around her were instantly turned into floating ash, annihilated in a single second without being able to offer an ounce of resistance. She felt as if she were living a dream. Just, what was going on? However, Qin Xingxuan stood there in the same place, her body swaying as she stared at Lin Ming, her face devoid of any color. Slowly, her once dim eyes began to fill with a range of emotions. Joy. Affection. Happiness. Contentment. No regrets. Her lips bent awkwardly. She wanted to smile, but she failed to. Then, she began to fall over, like a broken butterfly in the late autumn cold. Chapter 414 Do not move, you will be safe. Chapter 414 Do not move, you will be safe. Chapter 414 Do not move, you will be safe. In an instant, Lin Ming had appeared at Qin Xingxuan's side, grabbing hold of her waist before she could fall. At this time, Qin Xingxuan's body was heartbreakingly frail. She was as light as floating silk, and there was no sense of weight to her. As Lin Ming looked at Qin Xingxuan's pitiful appearance, he felt a stabbing pain in his heart, as if his chest were about to burst open. Nearby, Qin Yarrow stood stock still like a statue. She looked the youth who was holding Qin Xingxuan in his eyes, and she was completely dazed. You are. A name echoed in Qin Yarrow's mind. But, how could she possibly believe this? At this time, Oyu Xiong had a charming and affable smile pasted on his face as he rushed over. Oyu Xiong had great desires in his heart. He never thought that he would run into an expert like this. If he could form good relations with this expert, then he might be able to obtain great benefits. Thinking this, Oyu Xiong's smile became even more dazzling and bright. Senior, many thanks for the graciousness of saving our lives. I wonder what Senior's great name is. As Oyu Xiong spoke to hear, the rest of his words caught in his throat. He was like a crowing rooster whose throat had been seized by a butcher. For a time, dismay and fear alternated on Oyu Xiong's face. His lips paled, his fingers trembled, and a cold sweat seeped out from all over him. Lin Ming. He was alive. Not only was he alive, but his cultivation he reached such a terrifying degree. The other two Acacia faction disciples also paused. As disciples of the Seven Profound Valleys, there was no one who didn't know the legend of Lin Ming. According to what they knew, Lin Ming had a very special relationship with Qin Xingxuan. As the two remembered what had just happened a moment ago, they felt their legs shiver. Lin Ming didn't even glance at Oyu Xiong and the other two. He placed a hand on Qin Xingxuan's back to support her and continuously infused true essence into her body. He took a life-maintaining pill from his spatial ring and gently placed it between Qin Xingxuan's lips. Qin Xingxuan let out a light sigh, and her face flashed with an unusual rosy color. She wanted to lift her hand and trace the contours of Lin Ming's face, but to someone like her who didn't even have the strength left to speak, this was nothing but a dream. Her pale lips moved, but Qin Xingxuan could not form any words or sounds. All she could feel was the life rapidly leaving her broken body. "I've got you, don't move, you'll be fine. Just lie down and relax." Lin Ming's words rang in Qin Xingxuan's ears. Qin Xingxuan only felt her nose burn a bit, and tears silently fall from the corners of her eyes. At this moment, she was completely satisfied. This feeling of Lin Ming holding her cold body was very warm, and she felt at ease in his arms. She knew that she was nothing but an oil lamp that had run dry. But she could die in Lin Ming's arms. And as she stood at death's door, she learned that Lin Ming was still alive. This life's content was enough for her to pass in peace. With Lin Ming here, her grandfather would be safe, and her Qin family wouldn't suffer any longer. The corners of her lips bent, revealing a light, sweet smile. At the end of one's life, a woman's beauty flickered brightly like the last flame of a candle. Lin Ming carefully placed Qin Xingxuan on the ground. Qin Zia sighed, a melancholic expression on his face. He shook his head and said, "Miss Qin has exhausted all her blood essence. It is too difficult to recover. I fear that." Qin Yarrow was also sad. If Lin Ming had come just a bit earlier, even if it were just a day, then he could have rescued Qin Xingxuan. But now, it seems that he could only helplessly watch as she passed away in his arms. Lin Ming said nothing. It was as if he hadn't even heard Qin Zia's words. He took out a small red jar from his spatial ring. Inside of this jar was exactly the vermilion blood essence that Mu Fengxian had given him. Of the 22 drops, Lin Ming had used 12. He had planned to leave the last 10 drops for Qin Xingxuan, but he didn't have enough authority at Divine Phoenix Island to do so. It wasn't up to him to so casually pass along Divine Phoenix Island's vermilion bird blood essence to others whenever he wanted to. But now circumstances had changed. Lin Ming had obtained the first 8 layers of the Vermilion Bird Forbidden Divine Chronicle Cultivation Method Manual. Let alone giving away some Vermilion Bird blood essence, even if he wanted to give away Fire Shine, Mu Yu Huang would have nothing to say. Lin Ming carefully took a drop of Vermilion Bird blood essence and used a special jade spoon to attentively and gently place it between Qin Xingxuan's eyebrows. His expression was one of supreme focus. In his eyes, there was only that drop of Vermilion Bird blood essence. Oyu Xiong and his 2 juniors looked at each other. They noticed the deep fear in each other's eyes, and began to unconsciously and slowly back away. But this action was seen by Qin Yarrow. She furiously shouted, "You 3 scumbags want to run away. If it weren't for you 3 giving junior apprentice sister Qin a blood-burning pill and ordering her to protect the rear, how could she end up in such a miserable state?" Qin Yarrow's voice was loud and clear. As soon as Lin Ming heard these words, in that moment, his hands shook, and the jade spoon in his grip nearly shattered. However, he eventually calmed himself. He meticulously placed a second drop of Vermilion Bird blood essence on Qin Xingxuan. At this time, even if an earthquake or tsunami were to occur in front of Lin Ming, he would not be distracted at all. An invisible killing intent subsequently filled the air, suppressing everyone in the area. Oyu Xiong's legs both became weak like jelly and his entire body began to drip with cold sweat. He wanted to turn around and immediately escape, but he lacked the courage to do so. If he ran away he would die, if he stayed he would die. No matter what he did or what route he took, he had already foreseen his miserable ending. Now, his heart could only pass away like dying embers. Lin Ming was incomparably focused. He placed one drop, and then another. In Qin Zia and Qin Yao's experience, blood essence could not be transplanted into someone else. However, Divine Phoenix Island actually had a secret technique that was able to transplant vermilion bird blood essence. If there was an individual that had a small amount of vermilion bird bloodline within them, as long as they had 1 or 2 drops of vermilion bird blood essence transplanted in them, it would be enough for them to practice the core sections of the vermilion bird forbidden divine chronicle cultivation method. It wasn't enough of an exaggeration to say that 2 drops of vermilion bird blood essence was enough to birth a new revolving core master for Divine Phoenix Island. As for several drops of vermilion bird blood essence, that was enough to cause a dispute within the highest echelons of Divine Phoenix Island. Thus, it could be seen just how precious vermilion bird blood essence truly was. Without any reservations, Lin Ming had placed all 10 drops of vermilion bird blood essence onto several of Qin Xingxuan's important acupoints. Vermilion bird blood essence had very mild properties. Once it came into contact with skin, there would be a slight itching feeling, as if all the blood essence in their body was rushing over to a spot between their forehead and condensing into a crystal. When Lin Ming had transplanted the vermilion bird blood essence into himself, he didn't feel any painful or burning feeling at all. Instead, he only felt incomparably comfortable, as if he were resting in the palace of an immortal and drinking fine wine. So although Qin Xingxuan was in an incomparably fragile state at this moment, there was no worry that she wouldn't be able to withstand the effects of the vermilion bird blood essence. As the vermilion bird blood essence seeped into Qin Xingxuan's skin, her face was finally restored to a colorful and rosy complexion. Qin Zia lay witness to this entire process from the side. At the end, when he saw Qin Xingxuan's complexion restored and flush with blood, he was shocked. "What did you do? What is that red liquid?" There is actually some miracle medicine that exists in the world which can restore blood essence. After Lin Ming finished placing the last drop of blood essence, he let out a deep sigh of relief. Miracle medicine? Vermilion bird blood essence could be considered this. Just now, he had used enough vermilion bird blood essence to create 5 almighty revolving core masters in exchange for the life of the early pulse condensation period Qin Xingxua. Such a luxurious and disproportionate exchange was all to restore the blood essence within Qin Xingxuan. This was a great price that not even the total accumulated wealth of the 7 profound valleys could match up to. As the vermilion bird blood essence silently baptized Qin Xingxuan's body, her eyes were tightly shut. Sometimes smoke would come from between her eyebrows, and sometimes she would twist around. From time to time she would reveal a happy smile, as if she were having a pleasant and wonderful dream. Lin Ming silently waited by Qin Xingxuan's side. He waited for her to gradually calm down and her breathing to even out. Eventually, it seemed as if she were sleeping. At this moment, Lin Ming finally stood up, a knowing and loving smile touching his lips. But this smile only lasted for an instant. Suddenly, and without a hint, that smile suddenly turned wholly cold. He turned his head, and his vision fell onto Oyu Xiong and his 2 juniors, like the eyes of a death god had locked onto them. The time period in which Lin Ming had treated Qin Xingxuan was only a few dozen breaths of time. But to Oyu Xiong and his group, those few dozen breaths of time were no different than 10 years. It was like they were prisoners on trial, and although they were incomparably frightened, they could only wait for judgment. "Mr. Lin." I. As Lin Ming's eyes fell upon Oyu Xiong, his overflowing murderous intent also enveloped him. Oyu Xiong's legs were like jelly as he fell to his knees, prostrate. As for the other 2 Acacia faction disciples, they were in an even worse state. Their legs trembled, their fingers trembled, and they couldn't stop shaking. They couldn't be blamed for this. Lin Ming's aura was currently too terrifying. When that middle Hutian disciple who was monitoring Qin Zia on Coconut Star Island met Lin Ming's eyes, he spat out blood on the spot. After experiencing the Divine Phoenix mystic realm for a year, Lin Ming had fought in countless battles, slaughtering innumerable enemies. The killing intent that leaked from his body had reached a degree where it could already manifest into reality. "Mr. Lin, forgive me, please." I will help you testify against Ouyang Boyon. I know how he arranged everything. I know it all. Oyu Xiong went all out as he groveled for mercy. But Lin Ming only chillingly smiled, like a cruel beast. Help me testify against Ouyang Boyon? Yes, yes, if Mr. Lin doesn't believe me, then you may plant a seal within my body. Oyu Xiong was someone who feared death. In order to live, there was nothing he wouldn't do. I do not need you to testify against Ouyang Boyon. I only want to kill Ouyang Boyon. Lin Ming's voice was filled with a cold and domineering energy. At this time, he was just like a king who held life and death in his hand. Testify against Ouyang Boyon? That was to use the rules of the 7 profound valleys as a weapon to defeat Ouyang Boyon. But if Lin Ming had strength, then Lin Ming would be the rules. Why would he need anyone to testify for anything? Now, you can die. After Lin Ming had suffered this loss, he did not wish to leave behind any more enemies. Even if it was just a nobody who was following orders, it was still a hidden serpent left behind. Someday in the future, this serpent might return to bite him. Lin Ming flicked his fingers, and 3 crimson arcs of lightning shot out, shooting towards Oyu Xiong and his 2 junior brothers. Oyu Xiong's complexion completely changed, and he turned around to flee. The other 2 also cried out and ran away, choosing different directions to escape in. However, those crimson arcs of lightning followed them. In an instant, they had already caught up. There was only a kai-kai-kai sound as those crimson arcs of lightning attached themselves to the 3 like leeches and begun to ruthlessly devour their blood essence. The 2 juniors issued piercing screams. However, despite how much they struggled, it was all meaningless. Their bodies began to rapidly wither, and after several breaths of time, they had turned into desiccated mummies. Oyu Xiong was able to last for a few breaths of time longer. The blood-extinguishing demon thunder pierced his thigh, and his thigh began to rapidly wither. Oyu Xiong desperately screamed and then used his sword to chop off his thigh. But at this time, the blood-extinguishing demon thunder was like a serpent as it latched onto Oyu Xiong's other leg. Both of Oyu Xiong's eyes filled with blood. He chopped down with his sword once again. Unwillingness, pain, despair. Oyu Xiong's face was already completely twisted. He grabbed his own face, wishing he could tear off his skin. Qin Yarrow was frightened as she looked from a distance. In that moment, she suddenly had a feeling as if Lin Ming himself were a demon. Chapter 415 is a skipped number, i.e. doesn't exist. Chapter 415 is a skipped number, i.e. doesn't exist. Chapter 416, the feeling of not losing her, how blissful. Oyu Xiong died, and it was also a painful struggle before he died. Because his cultivation was high, the blood-extinguishing demon thunder wasn't able to instantly kill him. But this only meant that he suffered more pain, and in the end, all that was left of him was a dry corpse. The 3 arcs of blood-extinguishing demon thunder howled as they flew back towards Lin Ming's hand, and integrated into the blood-extinguishing demon thunder's thunder soul. Qin Yarrow gulped. Such a killing method was extremely eerie, to the point where it made her skin crawl. This was absolutely not the righteous path. Lin Ming turned around to look at her. Qin Yarrow jumped. Before she knew it, her hands were wet with sweat. "Thank you," Lin Ming said. Lin Ming had seen the moment when Qin Yarrow had rescued Qin Xingxuan. He imagined that Qin Yarrow had looked after Qin Xingxuan many times. Otherwise, with her current condition, it was impossible that she would have survived until he arrived to save her. "This is for you." Lin Ming took out 2 bottles of pills from his spatial ring. When Lin Ming had taken the spatial ring from the South Sea Demon Region's Saint Sun, Lei Mubai, besides the great desolate blood halberd replica and the ancient devil tome cultivation method jadeslip, there were also many various precious and rare pills and treasures. Some of the pills were even more valuable than the heaven opening pill. Lin Ming was not stingy. He had taken out a bottle of origin balancing pills and a bottle of earth spirit pills. These pills were miracle cures that were respectively used by Xiantian realm and Hutian realm martial artists. These 2 pills were able to stabilize one's cultivation, and could build and refine the true essence in one's body. This so-called strengthening one's energy was in fact creating a more solid and stable foundation. Lin Ming's foundation was already at the limit of stability when he had broken through. Therefore these 2 bottles of pills were relatively useless to him. Pills that could stabilize one's foundation were much more valuable than pills that could enhance one's foundation. Every 2 earth spirit pills were equal to a heaven opening pill, and, as for the origin balancing pill, every one was much more valuable than a heaven opening pill. In a single breath Lin Ming had given away 8 earth spirit pills and 3 origin balancing pills. Qin Yarrow took the pill bottles. After smelling the fragrance that wafted from them, she was utterly stunned. These are earth spirit pills. To Qin Yarrow, earth spirit pills were pills only found in legends. Within the 7 profound valleys, only a faction's chief disciple like Jiang Baoyun, Qin Wuxin, or other characters like that could obtain 1 or 2 earth spirit pills after they reached the early Hutian realm in order to solidify their cultivate energy. But Lin Ming had handed her 8 of them. Every 2 earth spirit pills were equal to a heaven opening pill. To a martial artist from the 7 profound valleys, this was a staggeringly expensive pill that would leave anyone dumbfounded. How could she possibly eat these? Since she had earth spirit pills, she might as well trade them for heaven opening pills. Although earth spirit pills had a great effect, a similar effect could be accomplished through accumulated effort over time. But a heaven opening pill was different. Without a heaven opening pill, no matter how diligent one was, it would be impossible to step into the Xiantian realm. Therefore, to a 7 profound valleys disciple, an earth spirit pill was just like delicious and valuable vicious beast meat was to a poor man. A poor man wouldn't even be able to eat steamed buns. Why would they eat valuable vicious beast meat? They might as well trade it in for several bags of rice and flour. That would be a much better use of it. Qin Yarrow didn't know what to say. She knew what an earth spirit pill was, but she had never seen an origin balancing pill before. Still, just from looking at the rich heaven and earth origin energy that was condensed within the origin balancing pill, she guessed that this precious pill was even more valuable than the earth spirit pill. In truth, 1 or 2 heaven opening pills were more than enough for her. The reason that she had risked her life to come to Blood Demon Island was to obtain enough medium-grade true essence stones in order to trade for heaven opening pills. As for these earth spirit pills, they were completely luxurious treasures. Lin Ming was able to guess what Qin Yarrow was thinking. He smiled and said, "The earth spirit pills are for you to eat. Your inner true essence is very messy, and your foundation is unstable. Otherwise, a few blood demons would not be able to deal with you. With your current condition, it will be very difficult for you to reach the Xiantian realm. If you have these earth spirit pills, you can stabilize your cultivation so that your chances are much higher. As for these origin balancing pills, you can use them to exchange for heaven opening pills. 3 origin balancing pills are enough to trade for at least 3 heaven opening pills. Once your foundation becomes stable, 2 or 3 heaven opening pills are more than enough for you to reach the Xiantian realm. 3 origin balancing pills can be exchanged for 3 heaven opening pills?" Qin Yarrow was stunned. At this moment, Qin Zia laughed and said, "Qin Yarrow, these origin balancing pills are for a Xiantian martial artist to use. Its value is truly above a heaven opening pill. I can ask the sovereign to help you trade. The 7 profound valleys elders would be glad for this business." Qin Zia was a Zither faction elder. If he helped her in the trade, then she wouldn't need to fear that she would be scammed, and it was also safer. Qin Zia didn't have heaven opening pills, otherwise he would be happy to make a trade too. To a Xiantian master, heaven opening pills were useless. But origin balancing pills could be used to solidify their cultivation base. Qin Yarrow was speechless with excitement. Her hands clutched her chest as she ran short of breath. Everything that happened seemed to be like a dream. Xiantian realm. She had long ago decided that she would firm her resolve and make the sacrifices necessary in order to work towards this high goal in her life. But yet, this goal had actually been realized in an instant. As Lin Ming watched Qin Yarrow's excited expression, he couldn't help but sigh with emotion. He understood very well her emotions at this time. In Sky Fortune Kingdom, there were many martial artists whose lifelong goal was to step into the pulse condensation period. To them, a Xiantian martial artist was no different than gods from ancient legends. But now, these 2 bottles of pills were able to create a Xiantian martial artist, and realize the lifelong aspirations of a 3rd-grade sect disciple. It could only be said that the disparity in this world was too great. All living beings were no different than ants. As for some people who believed they were above others, they were just bigger ants. Lin Ming's own road that he had to travel was still impossible long. Qin Yao, please do not spread the news that I am alive. I understand. Qin Yao forcefully nodded. Although she tried to calm herself, her voice was still a bit shaky. Lin Ming smiled. Then, he bent down and lifted up the peacefully sleeping Qin Xingxuan. As he temporarily flattened his killing intent, Lin Ming looked for a peaceful place in the vicinity of Blood Demon Island and spread out a temporary bed of grass and clothing, letting Qin Xingxuan rest on top. Once Qin Xingxuan's condition was completely restored, he would have the peace of mind to go and pay a visit to the 7 profound valleys. Qin Xingxuan rested for 2 whole days. During this period, Qin Zia lived nearby. In these 2 days, Qin Zia discussed the Zither faction's cultivation methods with Qin Yao. The 2 were simply birds of a feather. Qin Zia's natural talent was extremely high, it was just that he started cultivating martial arts too late in his life, and thus missed the best window of time to do so. But, he still had a very rich experience and depth of knowledge about the Zither faction's cultivation methods, and also into the intricacies of the Zither heart. As he and Qin Yao conversed for 2 days, Qin Yao benefited a lot. 2 days peacefully passed. Lin Ming had laid down a simple isolating array formation. Fire Shine was just too conspicuous. Although he was hidden in a cave, he didn't fear blood demons, but rather that any fight would disturb Qin Xingxuan's rest. Qin Xingxuan slept soundly. Her expression was tranquil, and her face was cute and flushed, just like a baby. Occasionally, she would frown, and a look of panic would come over her. Presumably, this was because the shadows of her heart had deepened too much from these past days. Lin Ming's death, her Qin family's imminent demise, the serpent Ouyang Boyon, and even the perilous Blood Demon Island, all of these were Qin Xingxuan's nightmares, weighing down on her chest, making it hard for her to breathe. Whenever Lin Ming saw Qin Xingxuan like this, he could only worry and be nervous. He quietly held onto her hands during this time, hoping it would give her comfort. This approach was truly miraculous. Whenever he did so, Qin Xingxuan would always slowly calm down, and sometimes even a happy and content smile would appear on her lips. The cave was cool. Moisture would condense at the top of the cave, turning into crystal drops of water. Once these water drops were big enough, they would fall down, releasing a clear ringing sound that echoed. However, Qin Xingxuan did not feel cold. The vermilion bird blood essence continuously and subtly transformed her bloodline, causing her blood vitality to be vibrant like a stove. Sometimes, Qin Xingxuan would even fragrantly perspire until she dripped. She would subconsciously pull off the blanket, and even tug away on her clothes. When this happened, Lin Ming could only blush and gulp as he embarrassedly tucked Qin Xingxuan back in her blanket, waiting for the vermilion bird blood essence to penetrate into her marrow and completely fuse with her. Time slowly marched on. Like this, another day passed. It was late at night, and the shining bright moon was hanging in the dark night sky. Because of the endless red fog that never left Blood Demon Island, the round moon looked as if it were dyed red. But this only made it seem especially beautiful. Qin Xingxuan had already completely calmed down. The flushed ruddiness of her face already vanished. The bloodline transformation had quietly completed. A single tear formed at the corner of Qin Xingxuan's eyes. Under the red demon moon, the light that fell down was a pale red. It was like a blood-colored pearl was hidden in the night sky. This scene was particularly poignant. As the tear rolled down her cheek, it was actually caught by a finger. Lin Ming gently wiped away this tear, feeling some heartache. At this moment, Qin Xingxuan loudly coughed. She revealed a pained expression and then, she opened her eyes. As her blurry vision began to clear up, in her eyes, she saw Lin Ming's face. She was immediately shocked. These past 2 days, she had encountered countless colorful dreams and terrible nightmares. Now, Qin Xingxuan found it difficult to distinguish between dreams and realities. Between these dreams, she vaguely recalled that before she died, she saw Lin Ming coming to her on a vermilion bird. From time to time, this image would pop into her mind, but in the end she didn't know whether Lin Ming was alive or dead. At the moment when she had awakened, she thought that she would be a lone girl that would have to face this desolate and bleak world. But what she saw was Lin Ming sitting beside her, a tender and happy smile on his face. Now, Qin Xingxuan's tears couldn't stop. She threw herself into Lin Ming's arms, crying and sobbing. She tightly held onto Lin Ming's waist. She feared that if she let go, she would lose him. "It's all right, everything's fine. I've got you now." Lin Ming gently caressed Qin Xingxuan's back. His heart filled with emotion. This feeling of not losing her was truly blissful. Like this, Qin Xingxuan held onto Lin Ming. She cried without words. All of the grievances, injustices, and sorrows she had held within her now melted away like snow under the summer sun. Qin Xingxuan suddenly felt that her life was inseparable from Lin Ming's. Even if the gap between them became a moat that divided them, she would do everything in her power to pursue him. She wouldn't leave him, even if she had to be a moth that got too close to the flames. With a fragrant and jade-like Qin Xingxuan pressed against his chest, Lin Ming was also enjoying this scene that sent his stomach fluttering. After a long time, Qin Xingxuan whispered, I'm hungry." After 3 days of not eating anything, Qin Xingxuan was starving. You're tuning in to the Celestial War YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.